This conference will now be recorded.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Let's go ahead and begin the meeting. We'll first start with prayer, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Matson, will you please lead us in prayer?
Would you stand as able and join me tonight in our invocation? Dear Lord and Father of us all, we come to you this evening to ask your guidance as the Sedalia City Council, Mayor, administrators, staff, board members meet to hear about, discuss, and make decisions for the betterment of our community and its citizens. We are grateful for their service and dedication to our city. We ask your protection and blessing for all of our city, county, and state first responders who work 24/7 to serve and protect us, often at their own peril. We are truly grateful for the United States of America, our constitutional republic, for which so many thousands have fought and have died to create and preserve for these 247 years. Please protect all of our military and civilians serving our great country today throughout the world and also here, keeping us safe from threats from without and, more sadly, threats from within. And now as we leave tonight, please protect us and our loved ones. Keep us from harm until we meet again. And all this is prayed in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Here.
Marshall is absent. Bogus.
Here.
Hiller.
Here.
Cross.
Here.
Foster is absent. And Bliss.
Here. Okay, first item on our agenda is a presentation by the Pettis County Health Center. This is on a proposed expenditure for the opioid fundings that we've received. All right, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for speaking or letting us speak today. My name is Dawn Williams. I'm the mental health coordinator at the Pettis County Health Center. With me is our administrator, Melinda Nevels, our health educator, Erica Elliott, and our data analyst, Nicholas Reese. First and foremost, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to hear our proposal for proactively fighting the opioid overdose epidemic our city is currently facing. By joining forces, we're hoping to demonstrate our commitment to safety and well-being of our community. As dedicated community leaders, we have witnessed the devastating impact of the opioid epidemic firsthand. The rising overdose rates in our community are more than statistics. They represent families being torn apart, lives lost, and a community in pain. Working together sends a clear message that our community prioritizes individual safety and that we care about local harm reduction. As you can see, Missouri reported 1,948 total deaths caused by opioid overdose last year. Pettis County reported 6. We know that these numbers are vastly underreported due to the incomplete data and just the way that coroners report this. On this slide, it shows the number for Missouri as well as for the United States. And it also shows the types of opioids contributing to these deaths. As you can see, fentanyl is one of the leading contributing factors in overdoses. So what is naloxone? According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, naloxone is a medicine that rapidly reverses an opioid overdose. It is an opioid antagonist, which means that it attaches to opioid receptors and reverses and blocks the effects of other opioids. Naloxone can quickly restore normal breathing to a person if their breathing has slowed or stopped due to an overdose. Oops, sorry, I don't know if I went up. So I have a question for all of you. Your neighbor's house, you hear your neighbor yelling for help. Their oven is on fire and they don't have any way of putting it out. What would you most likely do? Hopefully you would grab your fire extinguisher and run next door to help out, correct? Naloxone is just as important to have as a fire extinguisher is inside your house. Naloxone provides a life-saving intervention to keep people alive and minimize risk. We have been proactively working on the opioid epidemic ever since 2019. Before the opioid settlement, we were able to provide our first responders with Narcan. That mainly was just our police, fire, and ambulance. After the opioid settlement, we have been able to hand out to our community members as well as to businesses here in Sedalia. In 2023, we handed out 598 boxes of Narcan. But we are proud to say that so far in 2024, we have already handed out 2,367 boxes of Narcan. On the screen are some of the events that we have participated in. We try to saturate the community as much as possible. And so these are just some of the few that we have attended this year. We are committed to making a difference, but traditional methods seem to fall short. Even with our hard work and dedication to this cause, we are still not able to reach a large portion of our population. There are several reasons for this. However, most are around the availability and the stigma. One of our biggest hurdles is after 5 p.m. and before 8 a.m. This is the time when most crises happen. Imagine a solution that works around the clock just like we do. We can do that by providing naloxone available 24/7 to our community. By having harm reduction vending machines in our city. Having these machines strategically placed throughout Sedalia will provide access to individuals who may, for one reason or another, be afraid to ask someone for help, whether it's for themselves or for their loved ones. We can prevent overdoses and save lives by ensuring equitable access to Narcan without stigma. The harm reduction vending machines are an innovative automated system that dispenses life-saving naloxone. And on the screen are some of the benefits for a Narcan vending machine. Of course, it's available 24/7. It has proven to help reduce the stigma around drug use and overdoses. It improves the access. It makes it available for others who wouldn't normally come and ask for it. There's no questions asked. They push a button and it dispenses the Narcan for them, and it's free. So we can continue to keep it filled for our citizens. Shown here are some of the locations. So we are planning on having one of the machines located at the health center, which will serve the east side of the community. One here at the city hall to serve the central Sedalia, and then we have one proposed location on the west side of Sedalia. We're just waiting on the confirmation before we can announce that place, but we're pretty sure we have that locked in too, so we can cover all areas of Sedalia. These are some of the costs of the 4 bids that we received. It shows on the next few pages, it breaks down that cost. The real thing that I want to bring to your attention is, if you look at like this first one, the cost on the total is the $60,000. It is different than the quote you have in front of you that I sent out. This is due to every quote was for 1 year, and we are asking a 2-year subscription for the IT part of things. So that's why the discrepancy is between the costs there. And then these just break down. ABS companies is $32,717. Ventec is $34,860, and A&M Equipment Sales is $25,002. Our recommendation is the ABS companies for the $32,717. This also comes with the technology that will alert us and keep us updated at the office if it's getting low, so that we'll never run out. So it has ability to track. We're not really worried about tracking who's doing it. We could put a zip code in if possible and just track a zip code, but we don't want any identifying information. So our main piece is just knowing when those machines are running low so we can make sure that we're there and we can fill it back up. The second part of the presentation is the business outreach and education project that we are wanting to do. This would be a 1-year project that we would do. Overdose education and naloxone distribution are crucial to preventing opioid fatalities. We believe face-to-face education is a critical step in reducing these types of fatalities. The more individuals trained to recognize the signs of an overdose and how to deliver life-saving medication, the less deaths we will see. Sedalia has over 70 manufacturing and industrial-related businesses, as well as over 200 retail businesses. Our plan is to reach out to every single business in Sedalia and offer education on opioid overdose, training on how to use naloxone, and if they're willing to take it, give them free Narcan for their business to have on hand. Right here, I broke it down into the two different pieces. So the harm reduction vending machines, this is for 3 vending machines, would be $37,717, and that does include the $5,000 variable expenses in case it changes by the time we actually can get the order locked in. And then on the other side is what it would cost us to go out and connect with every business in Sedalia. So we're requesting a total of $50,000 to bring this to our community. And finally, together we can and will save lives. So let's cross paths with community partners to promote a healthier community by addressing the overdoses in our city. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions?
I have one. You said that you're really not too concerned about the location as far as who's using the machines in order to get the product. Wouldn't that help you to know this is a targeted area that we need to?
What I was meaning on that is there's different ways that you can put in the vending machine to dispense it. Some of them are just a zip code. We don't want any identifying information that would keep them from going up and getting it if needed.
Right.
So the locations that we want to place it are to cover Sedalia, east, central, and west. But the information that we gather from them, we're not worried about who it is that's coming, more so than if they're from, if they come to our Sedalia and they get it and they're from a Kansas City location, it can show that somebody else got it. But we just really want to make sure Sedalia is taken care of on that part.
Do you see any downside to having these machines located here in Sedalia?
No, I have actually talked. There's several other counties in Missouri that have these already, and I've talked with one particularly down in Springfield that they have several of them, and they also have boxes within buildings. And they said at first there was the stigma that people thought that it would not be a good thing for their community, but they said that they've seen rapid responses to them putting them out, that the community is supporting it because they see how necessary it is, and it's also helping reduce the opioid overdoses that they were seeing. So pretty much everyone that I looked at and went through, they have proven that they have reduced overdoses by having these naloxone machines out there for you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Does this price also include the maintenance and the restocking? And how long was that for?
Okay, so the IT portion is what we're asking for the 2-year. The Pettis County Health Center will make sure that it's maintained, stocked. We are able to get the free Narcan right now from the state, and we can use that to fill it. So between us at the office, we will make sure that all of the machines stay loaded and full at all times. And the cost is strictly for the machines and the 2 years for the IT behind it. And that will allow us time also at the health center to go after other grants that would be able to pay the years to come. We will work on that to keep that going.
Are these machines inside or outside?
They're outdoor and they're temperature controlled. And they have a locking mechanism on them when you lock them to where other people can't come and unplug it and use your outlet outside the building.
Whom else have you asked about funding for this?
We have not yet. We would go towards grants. If we were unable to get the funding here, we would try through grants. It's just really hard right now with the grants to get that.
How about the county?
The county, we have not. We do have plans on asking them. Hopefully, with our plan is that these 3 will prove the need, and then we can go and request more funding to get additional ones throughout, through other areas. We were thinking about possibly like the truck stop on South 65, and just trying to strategically place them to cover every area. So it's somewhere that someone can run quickly and get it and run back and save a life.
Well, they should have it, they should get it
we need it in every household in Sedalia.
Yes, absolutely we do in business.
We want to encourage them to get it beforehand,
Yes,
not have an incident and run, come and get it. That's kind of the one thing that worries me, that if we don't include that in our education, it is a preventative, but
yes.
in a lot of cases, you won't be very successful if you go, oh my gosh. It takes a little bit of training.
You're exactly right, and that's why I said that earlier, that we believe face-to-face education is the best method to get the information across to our community. We just want it available in case. Yes, it is. We want people to get it in ahead of time, so in case it happens. But if it comes down to it and it's an emergency and you're a couple blocks away, if you're able to run and get it, you could still save them.
The information on how to use it is on the box.
Yes.
It's real simple, but we still need to make sure that we try to get people, everybody, to have it beforehand.
Yes, and that's why we want to also, we went to a lot of the different community events to reach our community, but that's why we also want to hit the businesses and make sure that they're aware of what to how to recognize the sign of it and have it available if possible. And then also on the outside of the vending machines, we have the ability to have them wrapped, and on that we are going to have some education on the side of that also. And we can put educational material inside the harm reduction vending machine. So it doesn't have to just be the Narcan. We can put the education in there also, if they wanted to get that out.
Multilingual.
Yes.
Okay. I would like for you to check on the grants and check with the county too before we make a decision.
Okay. Grants will take some time because it's just really trying to find something that would allow that. A lot of the other counties did it during COVID with their COVID funding, so it would take some time to try to find something that would allow that. But we'll definitely ask the county too.
Thank you.
Where and who right now distributes this for free?
I'm sorry.
Where and who right now distributes this?
We do. Compass Health has it. Katy Trail, I believe, has it.
So after hours?
That's the problem. We don't have anywhere that anyone can go after hours to get it. We work really hard to try to do that during the business hours, and we feel pretty confident that we're touching the right people that we need to. But it's the after hours, and it's the individuals that are afraid to ask for whatever reason it may be. They don't want to admit to it. They don't know, they're afraid of their loved one. It's just the stigma behind. So these vending machines really help reduce that and gets it into the hands of the people that wouldn't walk into our office or any of the other offices and ask for it.
Is there a shelf life on these kits?
There is, like the ones that we have right now are through 2026, and we keep up with the expiration date. So if it got to where it was close to expiration, we would take those out and we would put new ones in. Same thing that we do. Like right now, we give it to the schools and we let them know if they reach their expiration date, then to bring it back in, we change it out for them and give them.
So I'm asking this for the people out here. If they wanted to have one in their home, they just come to you and you would give them a kit.
Yes. They can walk in right now, and we've been doing this this whole year. They can walk in. There's no questions asked. They're in and out within 5 minutes. All of our nurses, all of our staff is trained to give the education, so we make sure they know how to use the Narcan, and then we send them on their way. So anyone can come get it during regular business hours.
As we train, we want to make sure they know to call 911. We want to make sure they know that PD does carry Narcan, and that could very well be a faster way to get it administered than to sprint down to this building. And so there is some training. There's some.
Yes.
I'm trying to be devil's advocate or whatever, but
yes.
the training, we need to make sure they still know. If you think it's an overdose, call 911.
Yes, because we tell, like, with
Let dispatch tell the police.
They should always, after you administer Narcan or naloxone, you should always have, you should be checked out. So we go through that also of whether you called 911 or not. If you were there and you administered it to a loved one, make sure you take them in and get them checked out. because they could, that's why there's two in each, because they could slip into an overdose after.
Sure, if you're, it's training to all this.
Yes.
It's not very long.
Yes. Doesn't take long at all, and it's pretty simple to use, and we go through and we do all the education. Right now, we've been doing that as well as handing it out to everyone.
What is your address so we'd all know?
I'm sorry?
What is your address so the audience?
911 East 16th Street?
911 East 16th Street.
Yes.
Is that next to Whittier?
It's right next door to Whittier, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Kelvin, do you know how much left we have in this budget item? I know these are funds that we can only use these specific items for, right, drug related.
Correct.
And the second part is, are you aware of anything we have, any other organizations we have coming up that may also be requesting funds out of this?
No, you all approved for the, embassy.
Yep.
And I don't think all of those invoices are done yet. I'm looking at Jessica, but, I know we just got one here last week, to pay that, so I don't think those are out. I don't think we have this amount of cash in bank right now, but I am confident we've had notifications of money coming that would cover this. So if you all chose to fund this, we would do a budget amendment to add this to the budget to use those funds.
And then when those funds came in, we would replenish it out of those.
And as you pointed out, those are restricted funds. They're very limited into what we can use them for. And this is one of those uses.
Right. When would be the time frame that those next round of funds would come in?
They basically come in about quarterly, don't they, Jessica? Yeah.
Okay.
And if I may add, the quotes that I did give in your package, it's good for 1 month. So if we go past that 1 month, those prices may change a little bit, but each company had a 1 month guarantee on the quote that they gave.
So are there any objections from the council to bringing this back forward to you in the form of a budget amendment at the next council meeting?
No objection.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item on our agenda is approval of the previous session minutes. These are the council meeting minutes dated November 4th, 2024. Do I have a motion and second? Motion to approve. Second. I have a motion and second. Do I have any amendments to the budget or the minutes that need to be proposed?
Abstain during my absence.
Very good. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we have the acceptance of the Traffic Advisory Commission meeting minutes dated October 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Do I have any discussion regarding these minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we have the roll call of our standing committees. Up first, we have Finance and Administration. Chairwoman Bogus, you have the floor.
There are 4 items for consideration through the Finance and Administration Committee tonight. The first one being a presentation from Oates.
So for those of you who've been around as long as I have, I apologize. You know, I dust it off every year and I make a few changes here and there, but you're probably pretty used to my presentation by now. First of all, my name is Tracy Waka. I am the Regional Director here in the Midwest region. In February, I will have my 20th anniversary with Oates, and so I've been partnering with you for a very long time. First off, just as an introduction for those who don't know who we are, we're a not-for-profit. We're a 501c3. We cover 87 counties in the state of Missouri, and we also cover portions of the city of St. Louis. And our mission is to provide reliable transportation for transportation disadvantaged Missourians so they can live independently in their own communities. The city service here started out in 1981 as Citizens Low-Cost Intra-City Carrier. Say that 3 times fast. The city subsidy to provide this service when it began was $44,000 per year, and the passenger fare was 75 cents. Don't we wish it was still that? the Sedalia service today. For fiscal year 2024, for us, it ended June 30th. We provided 111,496 local one-way trips for Sedalia. We finally topped the pre-COVID levels and bounced back. It took us 5 years from COVID to finally get back. The total direct cost per one-way trip in Sedalia this past year was $13.49. $2.50 of this for the door-to-door service was paid by the passenger, and $1.50 on the bus, the city bus, was paid by the passengers. Trips are up this year over 50%. Costs are up nearly 30%. They never seem to go down. Who's using our service? Oates Transit in our rural areas is a rural general public transportation provider. This means anyone can ride on an established route regardless of their age or disability. That being said, I've got an asterisk on there. Availability is sometimes limited. We don't have routes to every place every day, and so we ask you to please go online and look at our schedules and schedule on a day where our routes are going. And some of our routes are consistently full, such as our Tyson's routes. You know, it's kind of tough during some of the times to get a seat on that bus, so plan ahead. I checked the most recent census data today, and it shows that nearly 1% of the local residents here are using our public transportation to go to work. We have been and will continue to be part of your local community. We partnered with the city in 2009 to refurbish the depot. We are still there. We are in a 20-year lease. The bus celebrated its 25th anniversary this year. And locally, we employ 21 drivers, some full-time, some part-time, 13 local office staff. Our average hourly rate for our hourly employees is $17.61. We currently are hiring non-CDL drivers at $15.60 and CDL drivers at $16.60. So we encourage you to let people know that we are hiring. Our funding, well, as I mentioned earlier, we have passenger fares for paratransit, which is our door-to-door, that are $2.50. The bus is $1.50, and then we do a lot of contracted transportation. We do a significant amount of Medicaid transportation. We are averaging, just in our region, about $150,000 a month in Medicaid transportation, and that helps offset the required match for our federal funds that allow us to provide the services. We also contract with local nursing homes and Department of Mental Health to provide transportation to activity centers and workshops. We have federal funds that offset some of our costs. The City of Sedalia has been providing a $25,000 annual operating subsidy. And what we provide here in Sedalia results in over $1 million of direct operating costs that affect the local economy. Because of funding coordination, Sedalia stands out as a rural community with 6-day-a-week service from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. at night. And there are always increasing needs. I turned 60 this year. I was born the very last year of the baby boom. And so we are all getting ready to retire. So there are going to be some increasing needs. And funding uncertainties are always out there. But if you see your state legislator, you should thank them. A couple of years ago, they increased our funding back to the levels that it was at a decade ago, and that has really helped with our needs. Vehicles. You'll see some of my vehicles running around here behind a tow truck. We haven't had a new bus since 2019, but we are holding them together as best we can. On a bright note, I got 8 new minivans this year. I was so excited. And your system is something to be proud of. You know, you have had 43 years of transportation here with the city support. And we appreciate our partnership with you. And just a footnote, I'm not asking for any additional funds tonight because I know that your budget is in place and so is mine. But the next time the budget comes up, I would appreciate it if you would take a look and see if you can find a little bit more for us. We've not asked for about a decade, so we would appreciate you taking a look. Any questions?
Yes. Do you have routes going to like Tyson's or something where you pick up and take them to work and bring them
They
back?
start at 3 o'clock in the morning and end at 6 o'clock at night.
I see.
Yeah. They have asked us to expand those, but it's really tough to hire enough drivers to cover what we're doing now. I can't see you running a shift out there at midnight.
Yeah, what's the farthest that you go from Sedalia, like to, Marshall, if they're,
We take a lot of our medical clients, if they're not going here locally, to Columbia or to Kansas City for the bigger hospitals.
oh,
That is about as far as I go here from Sedalia. Most of what we do here is localized because of all the medical facilities that are here.
yeah. Do you pick them up at their home or they have to be at a designated area?
Yes and yes.
Yes.
We have a door-to-door service. That's the paratransit service that costs $250 each way. Or you can go to a bus stop and get on the bus, and it goes around to the medical facilities and shopping locations.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
Thank you for hosting me again.
Thank you, Tracy. Our next presentation is our financial update with Ms. Jessica.
All right, so we are looking at the second set of numbers, which is our fiscal year-to-date totals. Those are through September sales at the store. So the sales tax, use tax, and marijuana tax are up fiscal year-to-date over $1 million from the same period last year, or 8.6% over last year. If you remember, our budget increase was 4%, so we are over budget almost $550,000 fiscal year-to-date. The marijuana tax was an additional 3% sales tax that the voters approved. It started at the cash registers in October of 2023. We received our first deposit in January of 24, so here in a couple of months, we'll start seeing some comparative numbers there. Franchise tax, that's really large compared to last year due to the charter settlement on the streaming video class action settlement of almost $378,000. We received that back in April of 2023. So the remaining $147,000 that we are off fiscal year to date compared to last year is primarily due to gas tax. There's a decrease over last fiscal year of 40.6%. Transportation tax is higher fiscal year to date. That's due to an increase in gasoline tax, which is up 8.5% fiscal year to date. And then property tax payments, we'll get the majority of those in December and January and can start comparing to the prior year. Any questions?
No questions, council? Thank you, Director Claus.
Thank you, Tracy. Next, we have on our agenda the 2-year audit extension. The agreement with our current audit firm is due to expire, therefore we must look at this.
Okay, for this, I'm going to need a motion and a second and a roll call vote. Do I have a motion? Second. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any council discussion regarding this extension? Questions by anybody? Okay, having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall is absent. Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster is absent, and Bliss.
Yes.
You have 6 yes and 2 absent.
Our fourth item for tonight is to award RFQ for the insurance broker, workers' compensation, property, and liability coverage by the IMA Financial Group. We are recommending that we extend this, contract that we have at this time.
Okay, for this, I need a motion and a second, but before we do that, does the council have any questions regarding that? Okay, having heard none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion in a second.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you, council. And thank you, Chairwoman Bogus. So next we have Public Safety, Chairman Robinson. You have the floor.
You need a roll call, Mayor.
Oh, we do need a vote. Okay.
Yeah.
You want roll call or, voice vote?
Either's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Moving along to Public Safety, Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
To start public safety, Randy Batson, Head of Animal Services, will make a presentation.
She's coming.
Good evening. My name is Randy Batson, and I'm here to discuss the strategic plan for the Sedalia Animal Shelter this evening. Our staff at the animal shelter consists of myself, the manager, full-time shelter attendant Kaylee O'Connor, who is new this year, full-time shelter attendant Amy Close, animal control officer Troy Schneider, animal control officer and shelter attendant Madison Jeffries. We have animal control available to the public from 1 to 5, 6 days a week at least, as well as for emergency calls. And the operation hours of the animal shelter are 12 to 5, Monday through Saturday, but we do have employees caring for animals every day of the week, every day of the year. Just some information about the facilities that we have out there. We do have 49 dog kennels total. We have 6 in our quarantine area, 10 in holding, 6 in the indoor-outdoor area, and 27 in adoption. We have a wiggle room, which is an outdoor play area. It consists of 3 pens with dog houses, shades, fire hydrant fountains, and toys for the dogs behind the shelter. On the cat side, we have 96 cat kennels total. We have 28 in quarantine, 28 in holding, 28 in the exam room, and 12 in the adoptable room. Each year I try and show you the statistics, and I always compare to the previous year. So up here you can see that adoptions were 499 at this point in time in the year last year. They're at 381 this year. And we are consistently adopting out more cats than dogs both years. Transferred out means that we have found another rescue that has taken an animal from us that we feel they would have a better opportunity of being adopted through that other organization. So at this point in time last year, we had transferred out 30, this year 10. Return to owners that's our biggest goal. You know, anytime we find a stray animal, we hope to get that animal back to its original owner. Those have gone up this year, 149 compared to 128 last year. And euthanasias, 27 last year, 32 this year. And I would like to mention that we do not ever euthanize for time or space. We only euthanize for viciousness or if they are injured beyond repair. So over the past several years, I have presented a lot of goals to this council. And one of my goals several years ago was to see the amount of litters, both puppies and kittens, go down each year. So I thought I would give a little update, and in 2022, we had 123 puppies come through the shelter. 2023, there was 95 and 82 so far this year. And then again with the cats, we were at 193 in 22, 199 in 23, and down to 150 so far this year. I came to council and requested animal control have the e-ticketing system. So 22 is prior to the e-ticketing system being implemented. We issued 129 handwritten tickets in 22, and then 219 in 23, and 226 in 24. The goals that I proposed for this year at this presentation last year was to add another animal control officer, which council ultimately decided not to fund at that point in time, to continue trail improvements and the nature walking trail behind the shelter, which the trail back there has come a really long way this year. The trailhead has been completed, the dirt work behind the shelter has been completed, and the erosion issues that we were having behind the shelter have been corrected. The third goal that I had was to ensure the community had access to low-cost spay and neuter services. Our community has a large stray animal problem. One of the main ways to fix and address that problem is by spaying and neutering pets. And one of the best ways to do that is to ensure that there are low-cost spay and neuter services available to our citizens. So accessing low-cost spay and neuter in our community is still problematic. The veterinarian that owned the clinic had passed away. It's been taken over by a new veterinarian who continues on that same mission, but there is such a high need in our community that it is hard to get your animals in there in a timely manner. So to start off my goals for 2025, at the top of my list is to ensure the community has access to low-cost spay and neuter services. The problem that I'm seeing right now is that citizens and rescues or shelters have an average wait time of 4 to 5 weeks to access local low-cost spay and neuter. So the average gestation period for your dogs and cats is around 62 days, 63 days. So that's half of the gestation period. When our shelters and rescues are getting in animals that are already pregnant, if they're at the beginning stages of that pregnancy, we can still take them in and have them spayed and neutered and reduce the unwanted litters that are happening in our community. But when the shelters and rescues are getting these animals in, and as soon as they're getting them in, scheduling that spay and neuter appointment, and that's 5 weeks out, the wait time is adding to the unwanted and unplanned litters. And it's amplifying the problem of the stray and unaltered animals in our community. I've spoken to many of the local rescues in our area, and a lot of them are using 2 to 3 different clinics in an attempt to keep their process streamlined, which is utilizing resources they don't have. We do a lot in our shelter, but this is a team effort. The rescues in our community are absolutely pulling their weight and helping to reduce the amount of unwanted animals in our community, as well as getting them into good homes that do want them and having them spayed and neutered so that they can go on to have healthy lives. So I would like to propose the solution of adding a veterinarian to the animal services staff. Hiring a veterinarian will allow the shelter to obtain our services that we are traveling for currently in-house. It'll help us save time and resources, and it will move these animals through the process of adoption far more quickly. We're required to hold these animals for 5 days, and so are the rescues. But the rescues are now holding these animals for 5 weeks. So instead of being able to, for them to be able to adopt out 200 or 300 a year, they have all been reduced down to 100, 150, 200, because they're holding these animals for so much longer. Shelter spay and neuter services could be offered to the nonprofit shelters and rescues in our community. Serving rescues and shelters will help reduce the unwanted litter problem. Serving nonprofits will allow our citizens more access to public spay and neuter services and should lead to a shorter wait time for the appointments, reduce unwanted litters, and the teamwork effort between the clinic that's already there as well as a veterinarian at the shelter should result in a more efficient way to control the stray population. After a year, the program of having a veterinarian in the shelter should be self-sustainable after the initial investment. The other big goal I have for 2025 is to repair our kennel walls to meet the state standards. Our kennel walls are peeling, and there is exposed concrete. The flaking of the wall coating is a violation of the Missouri Department of Ag regulations. We have had numerous inspections from our state inspector over the last year. We normally would receive 1 inspection per year. Our state inspections are perfect aside from this. And we are now to the point where we are being fined each time she comes. And she can come as often as every 30 days at this point. And that's a fine each time she walks in the door. So the solution I would like to propose is to utilize city resources to blast all the coating off the wall and get it down to the bare wall. The reason this isn't working is because the product that's on it was put on a surface that was not adequately prepared in the first place. So let's take that down to the bare wall. I've spoken to our state inspector, and she said that the kennels that she inspects that hold up the best and have the fewest problems have a tile wall in the dog area. It's a porcelain tile. Doesn't have to be fancy, but a porcelain tile, epoxy grout, and then it meets the state standards. This is a picture of our current kennel wall condition. And the third goal I have for 2025 is to continue the improvements on the walking trail. I want to plant, we've received trees, 25-ish, from the trim grant that we plan to put in the ground next spring. I'd like to add the pollinator flowers and bushes and put those on the new berms that were created out there. And that will add to preventing the erosion and attract more of the pollinators to our area, and then build the gazebo that was funded 2 years ago through private donations. But it has not been erected yet because I was worried about the land, getting the land right before we started putting buildings on it.
Any questions, council?
What were the main reasons for the citations? We saw an increase of those.
Running at large.
Running at large.
And lack of rabies tags or vaccines, lack of proof of rabies. So other citations have been written, such as no city tags, things like that. But animal control always tries to work with the citizen if they can take care of getting their dog licensed and anything else they can do to correct the violations, then those are dropped. But the most frequent ones that are not dropped are running at large and having the rabies verification.
So
and that's a state statute. That's not a Sedalia ordinance. That's required by the
Was that
state.
number before some of those citations were dropped after proof of rabies or anything, or is that a standing number?
I believe that was before they were dropped.
Before they were dropped.
Yep.
And then my second question, when it came to the walls flaking, we redid the floors, 2 years ago?
Yes.
They didn't do the walls then, or did they do the walls?
They did the walls.
Okay. In their bid, did they bid preparation of the walls?
They did.
Okay. So do we have anything that we can lean on that they need to refund, warranty, anything with those walls?
So we've been down this path. I've been down this path for the last 2 years trying to get this this company to make this right. They specifically said that they would dive and grind the walls down. When I've come to them and said, this isn't working because you applied it to the product that was underneath it, they said, well, we didn't specify how much diamond grinding we would do. We said we would diamond grind. They did warranty the product itself for a year. We went back to them prior to that year being up, and they came back and corrected the kennels that were having the issues right at that moment. But at this point in time, I don't believe we could get blood from a turnip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question on you saying that it would help to hire a vet. What kind of days, what kind of hours, what are you looking at? Having somebody there every day that you're open, or just a couple of days a week?
I would like to hire them as a full-time employee, just like a regular city employee, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no weekends. This isn't something that I'm trying to promote to be as a competition to the spay and neuter clinic that's already there. I don't want to offer so many hours that we could service that many people. I want this to be an addition to helping to address the problem, just serving the Sedalia Animal Shelter and nonprofit rescues.
Can you tell me what the hours are for the spay and neuter clinic that we have now, that's here in Sedalia now?
I believe that they have drop-off at 8 or 9 in the morning, and most of their pickup is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thanks.
Any other questions, Council?
What's the longest you've ever held an animal at the shelter?
I believe we had an older dog last year, and we had him either almost a year or just over a year. But that's not normal for us. Normally, our long-stay residents are 4 months. Sometimes you'll see animals on our Facebook with higher numbers than that, but they haven't been there all those months in a row. They've been at the shelter for a while. They'll be adopted out. Somebody's life circumstances change that adopted that dog. Then they bring it back to the shelter and say, oh, I had to move. I'm in an apartment. They don't allow dogs. So now we have the dog for another 2 or 3 months trying to get it into another home. So a lot of those long-stay residents that you'll see on our Facebook page, that's a compilation of several different stays with our shelter.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Council? All right, I guess not. Thank you, Director Batson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. You do a really good job. Your problems are like anybody else's here, that they mostly are compounded by lack of funds. We're going to have a discussion now about the modification of the local fentanyl ordinance. In August, the council adopted an ordinance to help rid our community of the danger of fentanyl drug. What we have been experiencing is that the extremely low bar set for bail when a drug dealer is caught and arrested, they bail out very quickly and hire a lawyer to drag out the case. Sometimes it takes a year for the legal system to run its course. All the while the drug dealer is out on the street selling more drugs to pay for the lawyer to keep them out of jail for the illegal activity. This code allows for the police to submit charges to the state for the fentanyl, just like they've been doing. This is the revision. But now they can also charge them with a municipal charge for any paraphernalia they have with traces of fentanyl on it. The municipal charges can be dealt with much more quickly and can carry a sentence of up to 90 days in jail. The idea is to keep the dealer off the street for as much time as we can, while the more serious state charges for the drugs themselves are dealt with. This drives up the penalties for preying on the citizens of Sedalia through dealing with these dangerous drugs. Since passing this ordinance in August, we have reviewed the language with several individuals involved in the process of keeping these drugs off our streets. Through this review, it was suggested that the scope of when we could bring these charges could be expanded. Therefore, our prosecutor has modified the code to broaden the areas of when these charges can be brought. The staff recommends approval of this tool to help the police and the courts rid our community of these drugs.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance.
Bill number 2024-205, an ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri to prohibit unlawful use of drug paraphernalia with fentanyl.
Second reading?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the second reading. Do I have any council discussion regarding this bill? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-205, an ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri to prohibit unlawful use of drug paraphernalia with fentanyl.
Final passage?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Marshall is absent. Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster is absent. Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Chief, would you like to come up and speak to this resolution, please?
Good evening, everybody. It's getting windy outside, by the way, just so everybody's aware. We're in a wind warning, high wind warning. We'd like to apply for the AFG grant. It's the same grant that we apply for annually. It is now open. It closes December 20th. We would like to apply for a fly movement system, which is a system that goes in our fire headquarters that attaches to the truck. It takes the exhaust system from the truck and exhausts it out of the building. Our current system that we're using is an air hawk system. It's 5 systems inside the building that recirculates the air and scrubs it. It's not very cost effective, and it is expensive to maintain. So we would like to put that system in to exhaust the exhaust system out rather than recirculating the air inside the building. So we would like a resolution to apply for that grant. It is a 90-10 grant. So.
Very good. Call for the reading of the resolution.
Resolution 2117, a resolution authorizing the Sedalia Fire Department to submit an Assistance to Firefighters Grant application.
Motion to approve. Second. I have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any council discussion regarding the resolution? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chairman Robinson. Up next, we have Public Works. Chairman Hiller, you have the floor.
We have 5 items tonight, and first is a presentation for the Safer Streets for all Sedalia. In 2022, council adopted a vision to eliminate fatalities, and serious injuries resulting from traffic crashes by 2032. To assist implementation of this vision, we were successful in obtaining a grant from the United States Department of Transportation under the Safer Streets for All program. This grant funded 80% of the cost to hire engineers and planners that specialize in transportation to help us further develop the plan. Over the last 8 months, staff has, with their assistance, organized an oversight task force to generate the community engaged in data analysis to pull together such a plan. The engineering consultants will provide a presentation of the results of their work.
Good evening. So Michael Kramer with Wilson Company and Ashley Winchell, also with Wilson Company, and we're here to again present a summary of the plan. I was here back in April when we kicked off the project with the City Council, and so some of this will be a little bit of a review, and hopefully some of it's new. Again, one of the things we do like to do whenever we have any presentation is just have a quick safety moment. This one's really simple, and it's things that each and every one of us can do to help reduce fatal and serious injuries and crashes. And it's just put your phone down, slow down, and buckle up. Those are 3 things that every driver can do that significantly reduce the chances of a serious injury and a crash. So moving along, again, the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, about $5 billion, is a federal program that its goal is just to reduce serious deaths and injuries on our nation's highways. Missouri alone, again, over the last 5 years, has about 42,000 serious injury crashes. I believe there's about 9,000 deaths in there. In addition to action plans, like what's been funded here, there's also planning and demonstration grants that's taking and actually doing additional planning, maybe roadway safety audits, maybe there's a solution like a rapid flashing beacon for pedestrians, being able to implement those types of solutions. And then there's implementation grants, and these are projects that come out of the action plans, and you have to have the action plan in place to be able to fund the implementation programs, and those are projects that generally are a little bit more developed, a little bit more involved. What we've seen so far on those, just to give you an idea on the implementation, it's been similar to the build grants. There's only been a few of those each year that have actually been funded. There's, around, I believe in 2023, I think there were 47 implementation grants that moved forward. So our action plan, again, these are the components. We went over those in April. They include leadership and goal setting, the planning structure, data analysis, public input, and then looking at your policies and processes, looking at some of the equity components, and then pulling together strategy and project selections and ranking those. And then as you move forward, progress and transparency. The action plan, the roadmap here is simply kind of a timeline that we've been on. The goal is to eliminate serious injuries and deaths. The goal in Sedalia, that was established to be reducing fatalities by the year 2032, is in your resolution. And then prioritize safe, health, and equitability mobility for all roadway users, and develop strategies for the next 8 years. Again, in the leadership and goal setting, you all previously passed the resolution adopting a safe system approach, and with that goal of eliminating traffic deaths and serious injuries by 2032. That was approved back in 2022. The task force, this goes towards your planning structure, and so there was a task force that was appointed, held 3 meetings, the first of which reviewed the data analysis, looked at the crash data and where the crashes were. The second one looked at safety emphasis areas and countermeasures, what type of countermeasures could be implemented in the project area. And then the last meeting looked at how do we prioritize and rank where should those improvements come first. And so we did exercises in all 3 of those meetings with trying to get better insight into the plan. The safety analysis, again, this built off the data that was presented at the April council meeting and developed the high injury network. The high injury network is simply where do the most serious injury and fatal accidents occur. And I'm sorry, I just misspoke. We don't like to use the word accidents. They're crashes. And so, we want to talk in terms of crashes. So the high injury network is where the most serious injury and fatal crashes occur. And we identified the 7 corridors. You could probably pick them out on a map if you thought about where the accidents occur. But the data actually shows this. And so the top 3 intersections are 32nd limit, 16th and limit, and Broadway Boulevard and New York Avenue. And then the high injury network, the corridors are 16th Street corridor, the Broadway Boulevard corridor, and South Limit Avenue. And I would say all of the fatal crashes occur on the high injury network. And so all of the fatals are accounted for within the high injury network. On the high injury network, the corridors, there's about 2,700 total crashes with 6 fatals, 48 serious injury, and 30 vulnerable road users. And so the vulnerable road users are our pedestrians and our bicyclists. The intersections that are on the high injury network accounted for all 9 of the fatal crashes, and then 13 serious injury crashes. And so the high injury network ranking, I show you this just to give you a little bit of that public input and task force meeting and kind of how those were ranked differently. And so the initial ranking on the on the left is actually what the data shows, but then through the task force and through the public engagement, you see that ranking changes just a little bit. Not quite as much on the corridors as the intersections, I would say. The number one intersection that we heard about both at the task force level and then also through the other public engagement was West Broadway Boulevard and Winchester Avenue. But it ranked much lower on the actual crash data. They ended up, with such a large presence that, after the stakeholder engagement, it ranked as number one. And so that's a look at some of the planning parts and the public input, and I'm going to turn the rest of the presentation over to Ashley and let her continue from here. Thank you.
So one of the components that's required as a part of these SS4A plans is engagement and collaboration. And so we did a two-prong approach to engagement. We did a survey, and then we also did a public open house. We were really pleased with our results for the survey. We had 586 responses. So our engagement consultants spent a lot of time reaching out to folks in the community, did some targeted ads. But one of the great things we saw is that a majority of people who took the survey support designing streets for all users, so not just people in their cars, but people who are walking and biking. We did see, though, that 35% of people who responded are comfortable walking in Sedalia. So, ideally we would see that as higher, that people are comfortable walking, whether it's for recreation or transportation. One of the biggest issues that was brought up is distracted driving. So we know distracted driving doesn't necessarily show up in the data as much because most people who probably get in a crash because they're distracted don't necessarily want to say they were distracted. And then also that there are some secondary priorities from the public in terms of expanding safety awareness and then supporting crash survivors. And then we really liked this quote that came out from the public open house, is that when you design for safety for pedestrians and cyclists, the system is safer for motorists. And so kind of this idea that if we're designing for our most vulnerable road users, that we're probably making things safer for all road users. One component, too, of the SS4A plan is equity considerations. So the USDOT uses there's Justice 40 tracks that looks at lots of different census information to look at where there may be more disadvantaged populations and how are they impacted by transportation decisions or impacted by crashes. And so one thing about Sedalia is that the entire city is actually within census tracts that qualify. And then 5% of Sedalia households don't have access to a vehicle. So that means that folks are looking at walking, biking, taking transit, getting rides, different ways of getting around. And so, folks who aren't in a vehicle, who are walking on a street without a sidewalk, are a lot more vulnerable than maybe someone who's in a car, a ton of metal versus just someone walking or riding a bike. And so the plan really wants us to look at, or the grant program wants us to look at how can we improve safety for all road users, especially vulnerable road users, because their outcomes are so much worse than people who are in crashes with other cars. And so even just thinking about it being safer for all road users, improving access to jobs. So if someone needs to walk to get to work and they're able to do so safely, that's continued income for themselves, for their families, and a continued person contributing to the workforce. And then, of course, reducing reliance on automobiles and reducing air pollution. We also spent some time looking at your comprehensive plan, understanding how this plan interacts with it, and if there's any ways that we can advance that plan through these planning efforts. We know that the Katy Trail is very important to Sedalia, and so what are ways that we can make the Katy Trail safer? What are ways that we can make specific intersections safer? And then also, continuing to support some of the goals around pedestrians and bicycles. We know there's some complete street corridors in there, and so there's a lot of opportunity where safety overlaps with the goals of comprehensive plan, and we want to advance that. And so The plan has a series of recommendations that follow the Safe Systems approach, so looking at that five-pronged strategy of different ways that we can make sure that nothing, if everything fails, that there's something there to catch those crashes. The task force, we worked with them to get an idea of what countermeasures they want. Countermeasures is just another word for strategies for improving road safety. And then we have a series of recommendations for the high-injury network, specifically for Broadway, Winchester, 16th and Thompson Boulevard, and Limit Avenue. So these are all just concepts that could be further developed to advance safety in Sedalia. One thing we talked to the task force about is how should we focus implementation. There's a lot of quick wins that we could do to increase safety. There's things that we could do kind of in the interim to increase safety. And then there's some really, more catalytic projects that can increase safety in the long term. And the task force showed some interest in all of them, but really focused on those long-term full build goals. And so, those are, I think, a lot more work, but at the end of the day, really have a lot more potential to increase safety in the long run in Sedalia. And so our recommendations in the plan kind of look at near, medium, and long-term goals. And then finally, just wanted to go over kind of how federal grant funding works, because some of the recommendations are to do further studies. So there may be some things that are further down on this chart where you could seek funding for design or construction. There's some things that may need more study because the way federal grants work is that you essentially, come up with the concept, then further review the concept, then get to engineering, and then get to final engineering, and then finally to building. And so some of the recommendations may be to seek additional funding or additional research for those. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions about the plan, and we've really enjoyed working with the City of Sedalia, getting to know you all, and finding ways to increase transportation safety.
Council, have any questions for the representative?
So right now, there's no recommendations other than to get recommendations?
No, there's a series of recommendations in the plan that we've been working on finalizing with Public Works and with City Administration. So there are a series of recommendations that range from do more studies to advancing plans underway, or some of them may be to team with MoDOT to continue certain, like the traction program or, slowing down programs.
Presentation there, okay.
You'll get the whole deal, and then we'll have it available online as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of recommendations in there, and I don't know, to put it in my words, this is the price of admission for, we got to do this before we can apply for grants to implement, so.
I just want to say to everybody that we do not get the $5 billion. We're going to get a portion of that $5 billion. Because I know there's some people out there thinking, $5 billion, that's a lot of money. And that would be great if we could. We could do all of our streets and sidewalks and all. But I just want to point that out, that it's, the federal government has set $5 billion aside to be dedicated to the communities all across the nation. So we're one part of that $5 billion.
Anyone else? Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, the next, Derek Dodson, our airport director, will continue this year's presentation of his strategic planning of each department. Director Dodson will present at this meeting an overview of the plans for the airport.
Hello. Go through and give you guys a quick overview of the airports and our future plans at the airport. Our plans up till now and the future. And see if I can get this to work. Maybe. A little bit about the airport. Some people here, not here in this room, but in the city in general, oftentimes come to us and don't even realize we have one. So we do. We handle, according to the studies, 8,000 to 11,000 operations a year, anywhere from 22 to 30 per day on average.
That includes any kind of traffic that may be coming in and stopping when nobody's there overnight. It takes into a lot of things. We have 2 runways. The major one is the 1836, 5,500 feet long, which is important because it allows us to cater to bigger airplanes that our neighboring cities cannot handle. And then the other one is a crosswind for windy days, mostly for small general aviation aircraft. We have a total of 18 hangars. 13 of those are T hangars, 5 of them are box hangars. 21 total based aircraft, 2 twin engine, 18 single engine airplanes, and 1 jet. We have 4 additional hangars at the airport. Those are privately owned under a land lease with the city. It's essential that we have our airports. It provides citizens and local businesses with air transportation options. For the most part, that would be business. We do have local people that do utilize our airport and fly privately in and out of it, depending on, some are in small aircraft, some actually charter and fly on bigger planes. We have businesses here that actually have planes that fly weekly. And the biggest thing for us is the ability of all the companies that we have can use it to come here. It's a big thing for companies wanting to move to cities, and we have a lot of factory-type folks, and they fly in here on a regular basis. Some of those examples: Nucor, Stanley Black & Decker, Owens Corning, Warco, Maxion, Primrose Retirement took over some retirement communities here. And then there's other entities like Packer Sanitation. They do work for Tyson food plants and things like that. They fly in and out of here. So just a lot of different variables and people that fly in and out. According to MoDOT, they haven't done a study. The most recent is the 2012, which seems a little old, but that's the most current. The website there will get you all the information where they come up with the annual economic impacts of $3.6 million per year. City-owned FBO service, that's what we do. When I started in 2020, we had one little building on a hill. We sold fuel. That was pretty much it. Today, we now have a very, very nice facility that will probably outdo any other town our size. There's probably not one even remotely close to what we have now. Since we started, we became a full-service airport. We now provide a maintenance service. We now provide other ground services that airplanes need that we didn't have before. And we have slowly but finally got to having a flight school. Not a flight school, but we have a plane available for those who are pilots to rent and or those who are interested in becoming a pilot to learn how to fly. We take care of all our flights from start to finish. Most of those people call in. We do not rent cars, but we work with Enterprise. You get them out here for the folks. They come. They use our terminal. We supply the fuel, and they use the building as they need it. As city-owned, we're able to be more competitive than a privately owned service provider, and we do this because no one else was doing it. There was no services on our airports, and we've taken that over, and all that money goes back into our airport. Most of our airport upkeep is federally funded. Most of it's on a 90-10 basis. Feds pay 90, city is responsible for 10%. Having these extra services and the money that we make from that go into this helps knock down that cost of that 10%, because 10% of airport funding is quite a bit because it's expensive to maintain. How we've improved operations, as I said, we took possession of the new hangar, new facility in 2021, began the maintenance that March. Having that hangar brought 2 business jets, local, 1 business jet to another twin engine aircraft that we house here that was actually being housed in Columbia, I believe, before, so, that brings revenue for housing the aircraft. We actually work on them from time to time, and we provide fuel now that they're at our facility. The big hangar gives us the ability to hangar big aircraft. Before, we had a facility, or occasionally they might have room for a very small general aviation aircraft. Now we can handle just about any size business jet and get them in the hangar if needed. Ground power, we use those for bigger aircraft. They like to use them to start aircraft, saves on their batteries, and they're expensive. We've implemented contract fuel, which is a thing that helps companies save money on their fuel as they fly. And as I said, we have these goals have been our goals. I'm just proud to say that since 2020, we have realized all of our goals, and now is to maintain and grow those and make them better. We have the aircraft, and we offer plane rental and flight instruction. Projects that have been accomplished, the most recent was the 65 by 65 box hangar. The next is going to be rehabilitate our north taxiway before to make sure that it remains in good shape and doesn't, deteriorate quicker than it should. Conducting environmental assessments over an area they've deemed the wetlands for a future parallel taxiway project. That looks like, which is good news, they've been working with MoDOT, our consultant, and with that being a wetland, they are now thinking they don't want us to do that, and sounds like they're going to allow us to repair or replace the existing taxiway on the south side, which is at least half the cost of what it would be to do the other. But we're not sure yet, but that's looking to be where it's going. So, once we get this, 2025, 2026, 2027-ish is looking into getting that taxiway done. On into the future for projects, it would probably be the 523 runway. That was the hangar that they finished, the most recent. Other projects we've accomplished, our fuel farm, the state decided we needed some safety equipment on that. We've got that taken care of. We looked into some possible upgrades to the electrical system out there, but it's not feasible at this point and worth the money spent to change it. We are working on upgrading our self-serve fuel. It's been a pain. The system we had continually fails anytime it storms. We're going to get that updated to a cellular online version, which should be more stable. Some knickknacks like storage areas. We need to increase a couple areas. In our old terminal building that we used to use, we're looking at getting the plans to see what it would take to turn that into a overnight 2-bedroom type suite / private pilot lounge for pilots to use if they need to stay overnight, which happens on occasion. Other than that, they could lounge up there during the day if they're there all day long. Again, our goals are remaining basically the same. Most important is to provide the safe and efficient service to everyone. Service more transient traffic. We usually get that from word of mouth. People hear that you have a good airport to come to. They search the area. They look at comments. They look at fuel prices. They look at services and what's available. And we have a little bit of everything in a car that they can go get some things done or get some lunch. So oftentimes we've gained traffic from that. Again, our maintenance business has continually grown. We'd like to just keep building that up. We'd like to add additional part-time or turn our part-time into full-time. See on some graphs here, we did a part-time starting this fiscal year, and year-to-date we're 21,000 over what we were the year before. A lot of that has to do with I'm capable of gathering the work or accepting the work because I have the extra hand to be able to accomplish it. Without that, we can only, do so much. Work towards increasing flight instruction, that's just getting going, so it's a slow start, but we're working and it's doing fairly well. Our air evac, medical helicopter, they are north of town right now. They were talking to me a while back about possibly kind of getting encroached on where they're at, and they might need to move at some point, so they're looking into possibilities, working with one of our private tenants out there that may have a building that will suit their needs. Just another thing. It'd be a good place for them. It would increase, we would sell fuel to them, so it would be good on our part. And mind you, on all these things, our airport runs 7 days a week, all year. We close Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Other than that, we're open 11 hours during the week, 10 hours on the weekends, and we have 3 full-time people, including me, and 1 part-time person that keep that operation going. So we all work pretty steady. And then we have the part-time mechanic. And this is our airplane. It's not a city-owned airplane. This airplane is a lease back. It's privately owned. We just manage it. We collect a fee for managing it, and the owner collects the fee for the rental, and that's it. And 2 graphs, they all read the same thing. You can see our total revenue is the blue by year. Maintenance is, you can see the color and the parts. Maintenance is steadily increased. Parts increase in 2023. I did several jobs on a jet aircraft. Jet aircraft parts are extremely expensive. That's why that's up, and then it kind of falls back down. And then the same thing, a little different view of the revenue we've brought in 2021, where we were just starting maintenance, and then you can see the decline. And that is all I have. If anybody has questions?
Are you still having problems with deer and turkey on your runway?
They're there. We haven't had a huge issue with them, no.
How's the deer hunting there?
Well, there's a couple of guys that do, but I've never known them to get anything. I see them quite on occasion, but
do you deer hunt?
I don't.
Okay.
I haven't, no.
You had to go an opportunity to go.
Yeah, they're there.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right.
The next item is the stormwater improvement project in the area of 28th Street and Quincy Avenue has been finished. As is customary in contracts of this type, estimated quantities are built into the bid, and then when the contract is finished, these estimates are trued up to actual amounts. In this case, adjustment resulted in a deduction of $11,668. We recommend approval of the final change order and closing out the contract.
Call for the ordinance authorizing the change order number 2 for project area 21.
Bill number 2024-206, an ordinance authorizing change order number 2 for storm drainage improvements project area number 21.
Second reading?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-206, an ordinance authorizing change order number 2 for storm drainage improvements project area number 21.
Final passage.
Second. I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross. Foster is absent. Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
And Marshall is absent. 6 yes, 2 absent.
Motion passes.
Okay, for the fourth item, for the last several years, the city has leased out farm ground that is reserved for potential future expansion of the rail spur. Staff recommends extending the lease agreement with Lynn Stout for another year at the rate of $2,196.
Call for the reading of the ordinance authorizing a lease agreement with Lynn Stout.
Bill number 2024-207, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for growing and harvesting crops.
Second reading?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-207, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for growing and harvesting crops.
Final passage?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Hiller.
Yeah.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster is absent. Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall is absent, and Bogus.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Finally, the wall separating the public parking and the sidewalk in the 100 block of West Main was hit and damaged again. Staff obtained a quote of $3,780 for the repairs. Staff also recommends a budget amendment to restore the wall. Further, staff is working on a plan to install bollards to protect the wall from future damage.
So as this is a budget amendment, we're going to need a resolution and ordinance.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who hit the wall?
I don't know that we know, do we?
We don't know, okay. So we're not able to pursue anybody who was done by an individual, is that correct? Because we don't know?
Yeah. Last I knew, they were still looking for cameras to see if we could track them down. But yeah, if we track them down, then basically we will
Absolutely. All right, just double checking.
ask for restitution.
You ready? Do you need to call for the resolution?
Call for the reading of the resolution.
Resolution 2118, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion to approve and second. Do I have any council discussion regarding the resolution? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll go ahead and call for the reading of the ordinance amending the budget.
Bill number 2024-208, an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 regarding building and maintenance wall repair.
Second reading?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-208, an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 regarding building and maintenance wall repair.
Final passage?
Second. I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster is absent. Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall is absent. Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yeah.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Chairman Hiller. Next, we have Public Works. Vice Chairman Cross, you have the floor.
Yes, I have two items. Sherry Lowry, Community Development Director, will continue this year's presentations of strategic planning for each department. Director Lowry will present at this meeting an overall view of the plans for community development.
Thank you. Good evening, staff, Mayor. Hello. I wanted to visit tonight. I wanted to present the Community Development Department's strategic plan. First, I wanted to go down a little bit and just explain, once again, my name is Sherry Lowry. I'm the director of the Community Development Department. There are 2 full-time employees in the department, myself, and we have a downtown planning specialist, Jolene Cornine, the 2 of us. So tonight I'd like to discuss a little bit of the department overview for 2024. After I do that, I'd like to discuss a little bit of the initiatives and goals for the Community Development Department. Up here, I have broke down for the Community Development Department kind of the scope of work and what it does as far as the daily and weekly, monthly scope of work. Broke it down basically into 8 areas of focus, beginning with neighborhood revitalization. In the Community Development Department, the neighborhood revitalization focus works with code enforcement and the building department to assist kind of with the improvements of all of the overall neighborhoods. We develop and market programs to improve the community and its neighborhoods. Next, business development. Our department works with the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Association, to attract and retain businesses to come in. Our appeals with the city of Sedalia, and then chooses whether they want to go ahead and do business with the city of Sedalia. But it's with the business development factor that is heavily placed upon that. Comprehensive plan. I brought with me a paper version. We wrote with task force and community council members a lot of planning and meeting in 2020, I was told, and it was produced and published in 2021. This is our guiding document that citizens provided input, as I mentioned, with all the meetings and the task forces for guidance to move the city forward with a comprehensive plan. It is usually written on a 5-year basis, so this started in 2021. So the community development departments will once again gear and begin thinking of the scope of task forces, community members, having meetings on what our vision is for the next 5 years after that. And hopefully once again then develop, write, plan, and publish one that will hopefully be out in 2026. Next, moving on to the historic preservation. Historic preservation provides homeowners additional tools and resources to revitalize their neighborhoods and improve their property. So we rely heavily on that. The 353 redevelopment program. This is a property tax abatement program to financially incentivize homeowners to improve their property. And one of those tools available for revitalization can also be combined with historic preservation. So it's kind of a layering effect on some of the tools, resources, and grants that neighborhoods can use in revitalizing neighborhoods. And one of those is the 353 redevelopment program. Downtown development. We rely heavily on this, and we continue, the City of Sedalia continues to invest our time, efforts, funding, time in downtown to create opportunities for small businesses and then strengthen the city's sector. It's where kind of the hub and the personality and the heartbeat, the vitality all comes from is downtown. It's its personality. A lot of it is our city's essence. So we definitely want to make sure, again, by using our downtown specialist, our full-time employee, that cares and maintains so much of that. We rely heavily on the downtown development portion for our department. Planning and zoning. We rely on this to promote the health and safety, general welfare of the community, and always coming back to the question in our department, community development. What is best for the people of the community, the citizens of Sedalia? Not for our department and not for the city municipal. It always comes back to, for planning and zoning, what is best for the citizens. Going back on that, that's the regulations are made, again, in accordance with the current comprehensive plan, and again, that can be reviewed and refreshed in 5 years. But again, this is one of the factors with planning and zoning that is our guiding document that we rely on for planning and zoning. It's enforced then, as you all know, with our city code book and our ordinances. These regulations on the city level align with the class or the kind of buildings throughout each district, but that may differ from district to district, so that's planning and zoning. Last on the scope of work is real estate management. And this provides support for the acquisition and sale of vacant properties within the city limits. One of the greatest tools for community development then is when we get a list of that and take our deep care and time in evaluating that, taking a look at that and knowing which can provide the best opportunities to redevelop and reinvest these pieces of property for the community and how those can be accessed and utilized for the citizens. So that's a large portion of that. A little bit about community development and what the department has been doing in 2024. One of the first things that this mentioned is a whole branding initiative, and currently what we're doing community-wide. Just a little refresher, in 2020, the City of Sedalia, in conjunction with Callis Advertising, really took some time in developing Sedalia's logo, our tagline, "Let's Cross Paths." Very specific key messaging and positioning statements about our city, about who we are, what we mean to the citizens, what do the citizens mean. So a lot of messaging and positioning statements. The City of Sedalia also has provided, and it's listed on our website, our vision, City of Sedalia mission, core values, images that are conjured up when people think of the community of Sedalia. Katy Park, our trails, our vision of Bothwell, Bothwell downtown, our hospitals, things like that. So a lot of these visions come to mind, and those are embedded, in some of our advertising and our branding. The personality, yes, the city can have its own personality, and to kind of take that on. What does that mean? Positivity, a blending, crossing paths of different citizens, different community members, walks of life. So the city definitely has its own personality, and it is reflected once again through our branding and our imaging. Kind of next on our list for community development, it discusses economic development and how my position, as well as the the downtown specialist position, we can be utilized as kind of the liaison for the city of Sedalia and economic developers, kind of the go-between, marketing, public relations, so to speak, kind of promoting our city, all the wonderful features on a more personable, relatable level, and to market the amazing, wonderful things about Sedalia, and doing that in a very well strategic level, which I'll explain in a minute, for some of our marketing initiatives, our messaging, online presence, but definitely the liaison or the in-between person to communicate these wonderful things about economic development and why you, as a developer, should come in and really take a look, attend one of our festivals, things like that. So we spend a lot of time being that liaison. Next, we talk about commercial development and recruitment. Highly important, and some of the things that I've mentioned as far as bringing these developers, what do we need, taking a look at the market, the job market, housing, what commercial and retail are we needing, what would best suit our citizens, and then tapping in on that as far as developers, restaurants, builders, and bringing them in to invite them for a meeting or spending a day or a weekend and seeing different sides of Sedalia other than the city and the infrastructure. Once again, seeing the personality and the culture, the citizens and the vibrance and vitality of Sedalia. So a lot of that, those different facets go into the commercial development and recruitment portion. Neighborhood revitalization and housing initiatives. I mentioned that as far as some of the 353 initiative programs, some of our revitalization programs that we work with housing and code enforcement, really making sure that we take a look at, again, the comprehensive plan and what is best for our citizens. Planning and zoning, I explained that as far as we comprise that and plan for that with our comprehensive plan, and are always reviewing that, making sure what's best for the citizen, and of course it is enforced in our city ordinances and our code book. Historic preservation initiatives, and we'll talk about that. But yes, so much of our downtown and our community development has a large facet of preserving our historic buildings and bringing them to life, utilizing grants, and that way it can show that our downtown is thriving, not only with new economic and businesses, but with the historic preservation buildings that we can have. It can put us on specific landmarks and really make a large contribution to our community. It's important, as it mentioned, that for the city to work closely with economic development officials in order to, number one, create jobs, largely important for economic development. This will stimulate the local economy. It increases the tax base, so major and critical infrastructure services can be provided, so that can be continued. It also maintains and improves the city's appearance, which is vital to recruiting efforts. Again, it's part of that city's personality and image that instantly will capture those developers and builders into our city so we can make some lasting relationships and work on some new recruitment efforts. We discuss economic variety. That's a wide range of businesses and industries which will hopefully make Sedalia more attractive to residential and economic development prospects. So we want a wide range of businesses. And then on that second level, we want a diverse range of businesses and industries. So not 5 of the same kind of restaurant or 5 of the same kind of retail store. A diverse line of businesses and industries can also even go outside the different core of jobs, our different industries, and even, again, our heritage and our vibrance of our community as far as the different heritage that we support and have in our city. So not only a number of businesses, but a diversity of businesses as well. Following along those lines, retail definitely follows a kind of a proactive strategy or a model. We speak of this often. Retail recruitment definitely involves coordinating incoming prospects. It's kind of down to a fine science as far as scoping and reaching out to areas, regional development prospects. What key factors do they have in wanting to come to Sedalia? Relationships, connecting those relationships, people that we know or people that we have worked with. So a lot of those developing relationships go hand in hand. The right business and securing that at the right place and the right time. So we hear that a lot, but that definitely goes in with retail recruitment. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the Community Development Department is definitely a liaison with economic development, the Chamber of Commerce, downtown, and even the travel and tourism industry as well. It mentions that a community is attractive to economic development prospects when it can provide a very healthy, safe living environment through high-quality infrastructure. So when a development or a builder is first contacted, you will often hear some of their very, very first basic infrastructure questions like, what are your water lines like? Where are they at and where are they located? Sewer, solid waste, transportation, streets, electric, natural gas, professional firefighting, effective and professional law enforcement. We will be asked these very standard questions, but important. And with retail recruitment and economic recruitment, it's so important we know that we have these already in place. That is one large piece that we can check off of our recruitment efforts and move on to some of the more finer points. But if we don't have some of this infrastructure from the beginning, it is a harder call to meet as far as retail and economic recruitment. So moving on from infrastructure, in order to answer the call of more jobs, we feel that the city must be able to house their workers with a variety of housing options. And that includes a variety of options of those who are working in the workforce. Everyone from your frontline workers to upper management, middle management, and business owners. So it's a wide variety of a community with a wide variety of income levels and diversity. So following that and the larger scope of income and different positions of working, we also talk largely about this model that kind of speaks of rooftops, meaning your housing follows your industry and jobs. So you'll have your industry and your jobs in place. Your housing will follow that. And retail follows rooftops. Retail, your businesses, your restaurants, all of that will follow your housing development, and then once again your industry will follow your labor force. And that is a model that has worked well for Sedalia and that we always take a look at and making sure as far as planning developers, our neighborhoods, that we like to discuss that with them and kind of show our model of what we have been talking about, again, in the comprehensive plan. It's a real estate and economic development concept that means, when new housing is built in a community, retail businesses will follow, and other factors definitely and certainly can affect retailers' decisions, traffic counts, neighborhood population, income levels, the timing, and then, your retail landscape, other factors. So some of the goals for Sedalia Sedalia planning for 2025, planning and zoning, the community development is always constantly monitoring and managing. And again, monitoring meaning this is created and developed and enhanced and influenced every 5 years. So we're monitoring and managing planning and zoning. Again, that question, what is best for the citizens of Sedalia? This scope, but in the future, what will change? So with planning and zoning, that comes into factor, and as well as ordinances, your city ordinances, and your code book will follow that accordingly. 353 Redevelopment Corporation, those are neighborhood tools, your preservation credits, neighborhood associations, and for CIDs, community improvement districts. These are a large part of planning when you're talking about planning in Sedalia. We constantly, continue to review and refresh the 353 program development along with part of the comprehensive plan, and from that, in reviewing and monitoring that, we execute possibly new initiatives and plans from that. Historic preservation is a large part of the community development department. We establish historic districts, often found in downtown and all throughout the city of Sedalia. By continuing to maintain historic preservation and the importance of that, it can provide economic incentives for homeowners. It definitely fosters community pride with the past and kind of gives a history lesson. Many stories, much storytelling and gives a rich history, so a lot of pride with that. And it integrates with the 353 incentives. There are so many types of grants and incentives that can be folded in and layered along with establishing the historic districts and the funds that go with that. So many opportunities for funding and granting when you can layer the 353 incentives along with the historic district incentives. Some of the historic district grants that we're working on currently includes the West Central Sedalia Renaissance Surveying Grant. We are currently working on design guidelines for the historic preservation. That's in process. Currently, we're ongoing the process for the next decade of designating local landmarks, the Paul Maroon Grant, 9 sub-grantees from that. So a large list that we're working on and developing. So we really want, as far as goals, to maintain this and to hopefully look for new historic preservation grants and incentives that we can add to this list. So I mentioned before that the comprehensive plan, and I just wanted to mention that this is available, the paper copy is available in the city clerk's office. Online, the entire copy is available on the City of Sedalia website, should anyone want to take a look at it. As I mentioned, it's written and published every 5 years by citizen focus groups and task forces, and those include weekly and monthly meetings, anywhere from, I was told from the prior director, from 9 months, 10 months. It is a major planning process, major communicating process with citizens. So it's a large, very important task, and that's coming up. So we have that on the focus on the horizon in the Community Development Department. Again, I mentioned it's our guiding document for the focus of the city. It talks about development scenarios in here, and then kind of as a caveat, some of these have come to fruition, such as the Katy Depot scenario plan. It's in development and construction as we speak. And another one that has been explained in this that is coming to fruition is the Residential South scenario plan, and that's currently in development. So those are some wins from the comprehensive plan. We'll move on to Downtown 2025, and again, this has a lot to do with our full-time downtown planning specialist, Jolie Cornine, who just is so wonderful and so amazing in her tireless and effortless work that she does with downtown and connecting the businesses, the community, and getting everyone together. So some of the things that the downtown Sedalia has been working on has to do with streetscape. That is an initiative very similar to your landscaping that you would do on your home and your lawn. Think of it as streetscaping and cleaning up and freshening up storefronts or your sidewalks or your awning. So we currently have that going. Take a look downtown and you will see some amazing refreshed and renewed streetscape storefronts. The awnings, painting, new type of outdoor types of paint, trying to think, there's sidewalks, things like that. So
The alleyways.
Yep, correct, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Wayfinding signs and downtown parking lots. Currently are working on that and planning to have a design and how many and what types of wayfinding signs that we would like to place in downtown. And wayfinding signs mean just the cute little signs that you would see with Sedalia or pet store or health services. You know, some of the more specific and fun retail or Katy Park this way, but have Sedalia's logo and just kind of make it user-friendly. Often wayfinder signs are at the height level of the pedestrian, so that is something that we're working on. A major part of getting a lot of this taken care of and getting the word out to our downtown business owners is many types of grants. Some of them include the facade program and mini grants. The facade program, we have discussed that some of those are included with some of our alleys, facade as far as our murals, things like that. So the facade program and mini grants are definitely a major part in improving and revitalizing our downtown. Special events are a large part of connecting and continuing the vibrancy, the culture, just the engagement with citizens and our city workers. It's a great time for everyone to come together, relax, and enjoy some of the things with our downtown, such as the pavilion, music, food trucks, things like that. Just a minor list of some of the things that we have held in years past and even continuing are our First Thursday events that run every year from April to October. Shop Local, which is running currently right now during the holiday season. Gift Your City just debuted again this year over the weekend. That's currently going. Downtown Trick or Treat, just a few lists of things that this special event has really helped in connecting our downtown merchants with the community and the whole city of Sedalia. We feel that some of the things that I mentioned up here are definitely attractions. So we're talking about retail recruitment and development recruitment. So it's definitely a developer attraction. It's one way that we can personalize and humanize the aspect of Sedalia other than the city staff, infrastructure, things like that. So often we will discuss with the developers, stop by First Thursday or make sure you come in the weekend of Gift Your City. Many have taken us up on that, and we feel it's just a very genuine, kind, engaging way to have a developer see the human side of Sedalia. Christmas lighting and events. That's right now as we speak, we are busy planning all of the community Christmas events, and it'll be on the list later. So it's a very exciting time for the community to engage with friends, family, downtown, and our city staff. Downtown 2025 kind of continued. I mentioned First Thursdays. We have done years the holiday cookie crawl, which is Night Out, which we completed in October, which was, I heard, one of our largest one attended. St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, Halloween, Thanksgiving lighting. We'd like to give a wonderful shout out, particularly with Thanksgiving fireworks and that big festivity to the Fordell Company for funding that. We wouldn't be able to do or even participate without some of our merchants that provide the funding for that. We have upcoming our Christmas parade, City Hall with Santa coming up, Shop Local, the Scott Joplin Festival, Ukrainian Festival, and the Festival Latino. So still, there's probably more that I'm missing, but this is a major list of what really connects our vibrance and our vitality with downtown and makes it, again, that personality of Sedalia. We also rely heavily with public and private partnerships, and this is what we rely on for our alley activations and murals. Alley activations are something with a downtown program where you can take a dim alley, and often as you see on old movies, not wanting to walk down that dim alley, you can transform an alley and have it honor anything from the U.S. to Sedalia to a special Sedalia person. And all those alley activations, it's almost like it comes to life, plants, decorations, have it honor a person. So if you take the time to walk downtown in Sedalia, you'll be amazed at the art and the feeling and vibrance that you get from some of our alleys that have been activated from these programs, as well as our murals. Take a look at some of the murals in our downtown area that honor and, have a tradition for someone special or a business or a time of life. Scott Joplin here in downtown. So we're still continuing to get grant funding on that and put the word out that is a wonderful way for businesses to continue and to attract our citizens and developers as well. We want to make sure that we're developer friendly, and our mission is to facilitate the ease of opening and sustaining business in Sedalia. We want to be efficient, fast, and practical. We want to access barriers and overcome through collaborative assessment and decision making. And we also will assist the Community Development Department, will assist with the Development Review Committee, the city, working with other members of Public Works, our Community Development Department administration. We also will work side by side with the Development Review Committee with infrastructure providers, and sometimes they meet biweekly, but we are just a portion of the larger process of that in these review committees. One of the hallmarks or caveats or basics that we hear from developers that we're developer friendly is that we have very strong and clear communication when we're meeting with our developers and what our expectations are with the Community Development Department and kind of how that process goes from this step all the way to the completion. We have heard that it sets our city of Sedalia apart and our staff apart, well apart from other cities our size, that we are friendly, engaged, easy to work with, and that our timelines and our requirements are simplified. And we have heard this time and time again. So we really feel that that is a great caveat in why we feel Sedalia is developer friendly. Finally, some of the initiatives and goals for 2025 for our department is definitely economic development, first and foremost. We want to make sure that we are including business retention, business attraction, and business development. So we are constantly working on that recruiting, the marketing efforts, what new ways can we communicate and sell our story about Sedalia in new ways and new lights and in different ways. So always trying to tell and sell our amazing successes about Sedalia and why the people love living here. So it's always a different mix of business retention, attraction, and development. And then our job and housing market, that definitely goes hand in hand as I talk to rooftops, that kind of scenario and that model. We are keeping a key eye on those items when we're talking about economic development. For community development 2025, a large portion of what we want to focus on and enhance are our marketing strategies and our marketing focus. Some of these that we have talked about in the Community Development Department in increasing a stronger marketing presence and our strategies with a marketing plan includes continued improvement and implementations with our online presence, such as the City of Sedalia website, and making changes and implementations that can only enhance our online presence and get our word and our name out better, more concise, and more clear about the City of Sedalia. We want to work on continued improvements and implementation with our branding strategy, which I spoke about at the very beginning. Our vision, the photos and the images that kind of conjure up. What are our vision statements? How do we want to get that out? How do we want to talk about and accentuate our positioning statements? So this is part of that. Our digital content marketing, our social media presence, and as well as our public relations and our public media relations presence, and fostering those relationships stronger and taking that to a more engaged level. There's so much information and opportunity that can be utilized for the City of Sedalia and for our residents to connect and feel that they are part of the City of Sedalia. it's a digital age, and, large part of all of the information, that our citizens get and receive, about the city and other, departments definitely has a lot to do with that marketing and online presence. So we want to make sure that it is clear, concise, open, and, shows who we are as the city, so we can really keep a high level of community and citizen engagement. And we feel that if we strengthen our marketing initiatives, that can really enhance that relationship with the citizens and the city of Sedalia. Employee and civic engagement, promoting positivity, really shining and speaking about all of Sedalia's successes and the community members' successes, and a lot of those blend. So the engagement of showing that city can really, engage and shine with the community. We feel if we really show that the city staff can have, great, wonderful, engaging relationships and love where we work, that also can flow out with our public as well, and come together and have that more engaging, meaningful conversation and relationships. So we're really excited about improving that engagement connection. Lastly, as far as our initiative and goal is open and transparency on government. We know that any place, any business, the city of staff knows that we always can strive and do better as far as trying our best to be open and transparent. The city council, staff members, really we want to make sure that we can create that engaging conversation and that communication. And one of those factors is with open and transparent government, and having, I feel, with the Community Development Department focus, having more of those enriching events and activities where you can set aside your work and can set aside, the day-to-day complaints or ins and outs of your life, and just enjoy the evening, enjoy while you're here in Sedalia. And that right there can be a foundation, for that positivity and that community engagement. Down at the bottom of the list is also real estate management, and we talked about all the properties and making that very clear connection of redeveloping, purchasing and redeveloping these properties with real estate management. And it is a huge factor for redevelopment for the economic portion of Sedalia. That is the Community Development Strategic Plan. I'm fighting a cold, so I'm sorry my cheeks are so red. But do you guys have any questions?
On 353 development, people that are interested, do they come to see you?
Yes, the Community Development Department. They can visit, start out by running upstairs and visiting with me. If that goes into the scope of planning and zoning, we will handle those questions. If it goes on to the scope of building, things like that, they might visit with the chief building officer. Also with the neighborhood department, as far as something different, they might visit with someone else. But yes, they can start out with our community development, and we would love to visit with them about some of those incentives.
So if there was a need for a loan, you would help them fill out their papers or whatever for that?
Yeah. What, a need for a loan?
Yeah, for improving their home or such.
Yeah, for the 353, it would just be based on what our criteria are and what the city of Sedalia would need filled out for the 353 development plan, and for that tax abatement series. And we have we fill out an application for that, and we can guide them through that to get that submitted, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Council? We've hit just past the 2-hour mark. Let's go ahead and call for a 5-minute recess. We'll meet back here at 8:43. And that way everybody can use the restroom, needs to use the restroom. I don't think there'll be room. Okay, I'll take your seat. Yeah, we need a 3-minute limit on presentation. No, I mean, you have to. She's got. Yeah. Yeah, well, get it done, you get up anyway.
Yeah. I think I'll be on my phone. I may just stay here tonight. I've got a nice chair in the office. If I need a pop or chips, I can get that out. No. I got a bathroom.
You'd be my bed.
I'll just stay here.
One presentation.
You gonna see that in the morning?
Not tomorrow morning. I'll go again on, Wednesday morning. See anything this morning?
I'm sure you heard from Chuck.
No, there wasn't anybody out there.
Oh, yeah? You want a trophy deer or just something? Hamburger.
We'll see, I may not even, just more like 16.
We're getting election stuff ready, because that's filing starts at 10.
Last year you barely
Got an ad ready to say this is Democrat, and I've got all the packet stuff ready to make copies of all
still got that
that.
same deer stand?
31st.
Did you reinforce it?
I'm not getting it.
You're coming through the 31st. We get them 3 weeks.
They're becoming quite.
Oh, yeah, you told me. Well, it's a shame because I'm not deer over in the ditch. But you tell him to cut his throat or something. His throat or something, man.
You talking about who I think is right?
Tomorrow morning. Stay with me, I'll lobby it back.
Guys, my baby turns 1 in 3 days.
Time goes by. Not recycled.
That'd be a good one, wouldn't it? I told you. It's 7:43. We're missing Jack.
It's kind of hard on this whole kitchen set here, isn't it, Kevin?
Tom, do you mind running to see where Jack is?
It's another day in the life.
It'll be a little long. Depends on how that's upstairs. I bet it'll be a little long.
You have 3 minutes.
No, I actually got the back.
You can go forward and backward. You can black it out. You can use the laser pointer. Need to have Randy bring in some cats so you just play, right?
No, we're almost at the end of this. Brian.
No, you're good standing there. I think he's getting ready to call it to order, so.
Got family watching.
All right, we got everybody? All right, we'll go ahead and bring this meeting back to order. Vice Chairman Cross, you have the floor.
Brian Kopp, our Chief Building Official, will continue this year's presentation of strategic planning for each department. Mr. Kopp will present an overview of the plans for the building and property maintenance code enforcement function.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. We're going to start with a department overview. Department overview for code enforcement. Why are these services needed? These overall services are needed to provide a uniform standard of community safety in the built and maintained environment. These services provide regulation of a minimum standard for the maintenance of existing structures and properties, minimum occupancy standards, and minimum standards for construction of commercial, industrial, and residential projects. These minimum standards regulate sanitary conditions along with structure and premises life safety matters for the occupants, passersby, surrounding properties, and the community at large. We also align our building regulations and code enforcement efforts with the aims and goals of the Sedalia 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Why does a city do this? Through these services, the city provides a higher level of responsiveness and public accessibility at a local level. Through a public process, we adopt nationally recognized uniform standards that impact public safety in areas ranging from the privacy of our homes to the most public venues. Our efforts help to protect our community in whole, to include business owners, our residential neighbors, emergency and first responders, investors, as well as longtime residents and contributors to Sedalia. These efforts all provide a more safe and uniform environment to operate, invest, and live within. The level we provide now, we are under the recent adoption of the 2021 ICC International Council Codes. Building inspectors and code enforcement officers, or CEOs, as you'll see throughout the presentation, are working towards additional certifications. 40% of our inspection staff are new at their positions. Permitting software has operational challenges by today's standards, and there are many code enforcement cases that are years old and still in process. New initiatives, investing in staff for retention. ICC certifications have been incentivized, and certification goals have been mapped out through individual development plans or IDPs. I met with each inspector and each person on staff individually and talked about their certification goals. We mapped out the next 3 that they're going to take, and we made sure that they have the resources that they have for those exams. In-house training for greater exam success has been initiated. We have an in-house training session once a week. We do building inspectors one week, code enforcement the next week, and rotate through like that. Staff's been fantastic about attending. I believe code enforcement officers attending the building inspection in-house training and vice versa. The 2025 budget request will reflect resources for additional training, study guides, and certification exams. Opportunities for continuing education credits through accredited seminars and events will be pursued, and training for soft skills such as improved communication and conflict resolution will also be initiated. New initiatives for public engagement will align our professional standards with the community standards to mean that we have a high community standard and we want to align our professional standards with that. The ICC has a Building Safety Month in May. It's a wonderful program. It's a CAN program, and it's a wonderful outreach program that we can engage in. They have a different theme each week. They have all the material available. They have the press release available, and it's a wonderful program that we can use to help educate the public on ICC codes and the safety aspects of that. Website enhancements and improved end-user functionality. There's a lot that we want to improve with our department's website as far as guides for decks, basement finishes, detached accessory structures, a lot of information that we can make accessible online, and we're working towards that. We're working to cross-train our inspectors for front desk coverage. That'll help improve everyone's knowledge in the department of issuing permits and engaging the public at the front desk, and it'll eliminate times where front desk coverage may not be available. So we're working to cross-train, again, the whole department for that. We're going to update select zoning ordinances, such as the sign code, accessory structure regulations, and et cetera. So in the sign code, I know we have a couple sign manufacturers in town. I'd like to engage them in that process and talk about the amendments that we're looking at. And I think there's some room for change with that, and certainly with our accessory structure, detached accessory structure ordinance. I think there's some language that we can clean up there and make it easier to read and easier to understand. And again, put those resources online. So if someone wants to build a shed or a detached outbuilding on their commercial property, the goal is to have PDF resources for them available online that they can look at and hopefully answer a lot of their questions ahead of time. I'm going to propose an amendment package for 2021 codes to better align with regional industry standards. I know our codes were just adopted in June. There's some additional amendments that I would like to make. I had just gone through the code adoption very shortly before I got here, and there's some additional amendments I think that we can make that I would propose to the board for consideration that would, again, better align us with regional industry standards right now. And then we're going to work to collaborate with community development and economic development to help attract new development. And, you know, a snapshot of what that looks like is having our permitting process, expectations for plan review, having that in a document that's available for anyone that's considering to come here and do business or to build here. New initiatives for department overall goals and investment strategies. Going to evaluate our operational mechanics and our operational philosophies and advocate more for the public through accessibility, consistency, and transparency. We want to partner with our applicants and be development friendly. It's interesting to note, I know Sherry just talked about that. Sherry and I did not compare notes, and there is a lot of overlapping philosophies in our presentations, which I think is wonderful that we're on the same page. We're working for the community. We want to improve department training, efficiency, and depth in coverage through cross-training. So not only cross-training for the front desk, but also cross-training for code enforcement or for building inspections. The goal is to work with everyone at their level of interest and get them cross-trained as best we can. So if someone's on vacation, if a couple people are on vacation, deer season, what have you, that we've got coverage and we're maintaining that level of service for the public. I want to streamline the process for permitting, plan review, building inspections, and code enforcement. Again, a lot of that website interface is included in that streamlining process. We just want to make the process completely clear, know what the steps are, know what the expectations are for plan review, and make that information as publicly accessible as we can. I want to work to have the department SAVE certified. SAVE is a Missouri program for structural assessment and visual evaluation post-disaster. So if it's an earthquake or tornado, it's training on how to go through and rapidly assess those buildings to determine if they're detrimental or not from an exterior visual inspection. There's a program that would certify staff for that, and God forbid we have a natural disaster, we would have 8 more people available to go out and do that rapid assessment. FEMA has a National Incident Management System, NIMS, training for Incident Command. There's a couple programs in there that I would like to have staff certified for also. We want to work on mutual aid and disaster response coordination with our police department, the fire department, the county, and other agencies, and again, provide 8 more sources for response in an event like that. And then I'd like to purchase iPads for our building inspectors, and get them that technology in the field. We have it for code enforcement. I'd like to get that for the building inspectors also. And then we have one vehicle. It's a 2008 vehicle with over 120,000 miles that I would like to replace in the next year. Again, those are department overview of our goals. I love this quote by Seth Godin: "Optimism allows us to evolve our ideas and improve our situation." I think that concept, that philosophical concept, is present in this presentation quite a bit. I mean, we're optimistic about what we're doing. We're trying to evolve our processes to improve what we're doing. Oops. Building permitting and inspections. Why are these services needed? These services help to ensure that compliance with adopted codes and standards are met on construction projects ranging from new industrial buildings to small residential projects. Plan review services help to ensure project compliance with life safety and professional design standards before construction begins. That's something we're trying to evolve and refine right now, is our plan review requirements, the plan requirements. The more we can review on the front end, the less questions or delays there are later on in the project, and it helps with the developer, the constructor, with logistics and timing and all those things. So we're trying to address as much as we can on the front end. On-site inspections through varying phases of construction help to ensure that approved code-compliant designs are being followed in the field, and clear communication with the design team, property owners, and constructors help to avoid delays in the building process. Why does the city do this? Permitting inspections are managed locally to ensure the safest built environment for our residents, business partners, and guests to Sedalia. Compliance management at the local level also provides the quickest path to communicate effectively about design requirements and safety standards. And a primary goal of the standardized building codes and standards is to ensure the safety and survivability of the occupants and the public at large. A lot of times those codes are thought to be to protect the property, and the first concern is protecting the occupants. So a lot of the fire rating, egress paths, and those requirements all relate to the occupants. What level do we provide now? We currently have certified building inspectors conducting plan reviews and field inspections. We are evolving our professional standards for design submittals and inspections through professional and in-house training. We have a very well-connected team that communicates well and works together to assist the public. And I want to point out, we got two folks from our department here, Nicole Hathaway, our permit tech, and Demetrius Maduros, our newest building inspector. Demetrius, since he's been here just over 3 months, has gotten three ICC certifications already, and he came to us as a master plumber. So our team's working great together. And again, just to exemplify that, they're here just because this presentation is being given about our department. And we're responsive to calls and inquiries about the building codes and standards, and work to advocate for our applicants and helping them through the permitting and inspection process. So again, we're trying to be accessible. We want to have the conversations with folks, and this is going to happen. This improvement and change is going to happen one conversation at a time. New initiatives, embracing technology. Building inspectors having iPads or data-equipped tablets in the field will help to result inspections in real time, provide access to online building codes, provide access to a digital set of approved plans, allow inspection photos to be taken and loaded into the permit file, and allow inspectors to email the applicant correction notices while on site. So we can be on site, take photos of what's going on, write up a report, and if the constructor's not there, the applicant's not there, we can send them an email in real time. They know exactly what it just failed for, what needs to be corrected, or that it passed, and they can coordinate for the next steps. New initiatives, investing in staff certifications. There is momentum among inspectors to obtain additional certifications. These additional certifications will enhance their ability to provide an elevated level of professional service. The more training and certifications our department has, the more informed and equipped we'll be to assist the community. And funding for their study guides, required code books, and exams is important for their success. Additional resources, training, and testing opportunities will be budgeted for next year. And plans to incentivize milestone certifications will be evaluated. The ICC has certain milestone certifications, combination residential inspector, and the list goes on. So we want to try to incentivize that and encourage folks to keep getting certified through the ICC. Fee evaluation. New initiatives, our permit fee structure will be evaluated for improvement. Some aspects of our fee schedule are very low by current standards, and the current fee structure also omits certain permit types, resulting in a low minimum permit fee being charged. So nothing scary, not a major overhaul, but I definitely think there's room for improvement. We want to evaluate it, put that report together, and give it to council for review and consideration. New initiatives, improving operational mechanics. Plans to issue integrated permits will be evaluated. Right now, if someone's doing a basement finish, they need the framing, the building permit for the framing, the separate electric, separate mechanical, and separate plumbing permit. And there's ways to model that into one integrated permit, which will make it a whole lot easier for the public and the applicant. And so we'll look at modeling that and, again, get it for folks for consideration. Management of expired permits will be evaluated for improvement. We have a number of expired permits, and I'd like to model a way to address those. And in an attempt to prevent that from that expired permit list growing, plans to notify permit holders 30 days before their permit expiration date are being discussed. So that would be a report that we can run. And if we're, any new software will have those reports built in, and it'll be wonderful. And so we could run that report. We could have a report generated that will show permits that are going to expire in the next 30 days and send those applicants an email, give them notification, give them some update, and try to be proactive about addressing those. And then the types of inspections we conduct are being reevaluated for need and efficiency. We have a number of inspections in our inspection type list, and so the building inspectors and I have gone through those right now. We've identified some that we can eliminate, maybe one or two we can add. We just want to modify it to be as functional and efficient as we can. Elaine Chow, the pursuit of excellence is a continuous process. Again, just to illustrate that we're constantly looking forward. We understand it's a process. We're not static. We're constantly looking for improvement in how we're doing what we do, and the end goal to better serve the public. Property maintenance. Why are these services needed? Enforcement of property maintenance codes helps to maintain public health and public safety standards. The Code Enforcement Department provides a contact and ally for residents who observe or reside next to uncompliant properties, including those with rodent infestation, dangerous buildings, fire hazards, other unsanitary conditions, and attractive nuisances. And these services are needed to assist the public in advocating for a safe, sanitary, and unblighted community. Why does the city do this? We enforce these codes to enhance the level of safety and quality of living conditions for all who call Sedalia home, work, or a great place to visit. Enforced property maintenance standards can help to prevent unkept buildings from further deteriorating and becoming blighted or dangerous. And property maintenance codes also help to maintain community standards of aesthetics, which positively influence property values and attract more people in business to call Sedalia home. The level we provide now. Our staffing numbers have fluctuated in code enforcement, and we remain lightly staffed for code enforcement officers as retention has been a challenge. In the past, we've had 4 code enforcement officers. Right now, we're running on 2, and there's a lot of cases. There's a lot of work to be done. But again, retention has been a challenge for code enforcement officers. We have a large number of code enforcement cases that have remained open for multiple years. The multiple and ongoing inspections for these cases are time killers, and I plan to eliminate that as we move forward. There's methods of operation that we can change to eliminate these ongoing cases and these multiple inspections on those. Code enforcement officers can average 20-plus inspections per day. Many of these are repeat re-inspections for ongoing cases. So we've got the 2 code enforcement officers that we have right now are averaging about 20 inspections per inspector per day. Also, our building inspectors are averaging about 12 inspections total per day. So we've got, just to put all this in context, we've got about 56 contacts with the public just through our department every day, on average. 56 visits to homes, to businesses, 56 conversations with our residents. And so when we talk about the soft skill improvement and the industry knowledge improvement, this is to improve all of those contacts. Code enforcement officers are working to communicate and work with offenders towards achieving compliance versus penalizing them. This is happening one conversation at a time. I'm encouraging folks to have the conversation with the public, and it'll be a real benefit to eliminate some of these time killers, these multiple year-long inspection processes, and afford them the time to actually communicate better with the public. New initiatives, time adjustments for correction notices. A 10-day compliance model can be unachievable for properties with large correction items. For example, large areas of chipping and flaking paint, structural repairs, or extensive building repairs. While a 10-day compliance window is reasonable for some violations, in my 25 years of experience, a 30-day model is much more effective. This helps to eliminate many unnecessary re-inspections and affords the property owner a real opportunity to achieve compliance and avoid citations, fees, fines, and court dates that can drain resources from making repairs. Again, the 10-day timeline works great for tall grass. It's reasonable to have that done in 10 days, but if you have chipping and flaking paint on your entire house, your porch is falling off, you got structural issues, it's just not reasonable. It's almost impossible to even get a bid in 10 days. So on a 30-day model, they have 30 days to get bids to work on the repairs. That process would look like a 30-day notice. After that, we do a re-inspection. If it's not corrected, we would give them another 30-day notice. If they're in progress and working on things, we'll work with them as best we can. And there's other details within that model that I've seen it work, and I'd like to move to that model as we move forward. New initiatives, investing in staff. Time and resources will be provided for code enforcement officers to study and test for professional certifications. In-house training will continue to broaden our code enforcement officers' knowledge of the adopted codes and governing standards, and analysis and subsequent efforts will be made to increase process efficiencies and eliminate time killers. This will afford our code enforcement officers more time to work with property owners towards compliance. In summary, we want to invest in our people, improve efficiency through education, simplifying the process, and soft skills enhancement. We want to improve public relations, improve accessibility, consistency, and transparency. This is something I've been talking about since I got here. I didn't have those in that order, but Demetrius pointed out that if we rearrange them, we come up with the acronym ACT. So we want to act to advocate for the public, and we want to advocate for compliance and help people navigate through our processes one discussion at a time. That is all I have.
All right. Council, have any questions?
You mentioned earlier in your presentation, you wanted to present to us a couple of code adjustments in the future, but you said to make them regional industry standards.
Yes.
What is regional industry standards?
So I'm from St. Louis, the Midwest region. We have some standards there. The biggest one that I could point to is insulation standards, insulation requirements. We did not adopt the energy code. We amended the energy component out of the residential and the building code, so we have no energy code right now. We have no minimum insulative or R value to point to other than regional standards. So the regional standard right now that I would like to adopt just for energy would be R38 in the ceiling, R13 in our walls. It depends. I mean, but there's some, or the new energy code has kicked up to, I believe, R68 in the ceiling. So if you adopted that code as written, the insulative values are, in my opinion, overreaching. They don't match the need of the region here. And there's a regional industry standard for insulative values, just as an example.
So if something's regional industry standards, I guess I'm confused, does that mean it takes into consideration the community and make it more accessible and easier on the community, or is that just making it more appliant towards the code in the region?
It's both. Okay. It's both, because the community standard, again, I'm from the St. Louis market. The St. Louis market has almost in unison amended their energy code to those R values. And so those are significantly lesser than what's required by the code as written. So, it's, in that sense, it's cheaper for the community, cheaper for the public, cheaper for the builder. But it's also, there's not the overreach of saying that, well, since just because the ICC says it should be R68, we're going to go with that. The region, large majority of the region has settled on R38 as being acceptable. So
Again, we would align, I would want to align with that. I don't think there's any need for overreach in that area at all, but I definitely think there's a need for a minimum standard, and that we should have something there, so it's probably the best example I could give you.
But I think that's great that you'd like to see us go to a 30-day instead of 10-day for, property, improvements.
Great. Thank you. I've had the opportunity to have a lot of success with it. And it really, it affords, well, you get a 10-8, if you get a 10-8 notice that you got to scrape and paint your entire house, it's scary. And, you know, and looking at it through that lens, it's almost impossible. I mean, you would have had to have bids ready or your paintbrush ready to go to try to get that done in 10 days. So it's just, again, I've seen a lot of success with it. It gives them some time. We work with them. There's ultimately a 60-day window for them to work with that or to at least get bids. You know, if you've got a bona fide bid, and, you know, and it's hard to paint your house in January. So it's realistic, and you know, it's, you know, we live here too, and I understand, you know, the public side of it, and trying to look at it from a reasonable approach to compliance.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Scott, I think it's refreshing to hear a professional overview of a department that I think was broken, and I will be glad to see how you accomplish this, if everyone will give you a chance.
Appreciate that. I hope to have a glowing report a year from now.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Scott? Thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks so much.
And thank you, Vice Chairman Frost. Let's see, we have liquor licenses. Call for the reading of the liquor license.
We have one new special event license tonight for Paige Shearer, doing businesses at Local Tap, 700 South Ohio, for an event at Jaeger Cycle on November 20th from 6 to 9.
Motion to approve. Second. I have a motion to approve in a second. Do I have any discussion regarding the approval of this liquor license? We heard none. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we have any miscellaneous items from the city council or city administrator?
There's an item that I would like council to look at in the future when it comes to an issue in our ordinance, and it's the street tree ordinance that we have. Currently, trees in our right of way, the only way that we're able to remove those trees is if they're unhealthy or if they're a menace to public safety. But I've been getting several calls here lately, and just throughout in general, that there's several of our trees in our right of ways that are causing damage to personal property, and so it's impossible really to remove those trees because they're not unhealthy and because they're not a menace to public safety. It can be interpreted that way. But we take care of potholes, we take care of damaged sidewalks. I think it would make sense if we start taking care of our trees the same way. That if we have something of ours that's damaging the vehicles, that's damaging homes, I think it's something that we can take into consideration about maybe it doesn't just have to be a menace to public safety, but maybe a menace to personal property as well. There's advancements now that you maybe not just have to cut the tree down, but there's tools and equipment that can be bought that we can remove the tree and replant it in a better place. So I would like council to take a look at that ordinance, come back with some opinions on that too.
You want an opinion right now?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a tree guy. Emerald ash borer, I mentioned to Kelvin several months ago that emerald ash borer is a lot of these trees that we're seeing that are partially dropping, storing personal power or ash. And we're going to see a significant amount of, a lot of the trees that were planted in those right-of-ways were ash. They were really, there was actually ash trees developed for right-of-ways. And all those trees are suffering now. I'm trying to think, Missouri or somewhere a little bit east of Missouri, Quincy maybe, and Broadway, there's two ash trees that are big ash trees that are in the right-of-way that are sick this year that are going to be completely dead next year.
I also like us to...
So we need to realize to some degree that in the next several years, we're going to have a
a lot of ash to remove from our right of way.
And that's fine, but I'd also like to take into consideration, look at our healthy trees that are causing damage to personal property.
Well, okay, I guess that, to me, Tom, I look at a tree and most trees other than soft maple, if they're healthy, they're not gonna really be an issue. What I was trying to say is some of these ash don't look unhealthy this year, but I really believe ash is a problem for us in the next couple of years. So we're faced basically the same thing. But I kinda wanted to make that point. Some of this ash will fool you, but it deteriorates pretty quick when it's got emerald ash board, and they all do.
That's all I have.
All right, anyone else?
I had a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to say that I may or may not be here at the next council meeting because I'm having my hip removed and replaced the 26th of this month. They say you go in, you get out the next day, and everything goes good, then I'll probably be here, and if not, then I won't be. And then last Friday, I got a phone call from Rick Yeager, and he came over and met with me, and, Chief, will we come up here, please? Anyway, they do a bike show, and they do several poker runs, and then they collect funds from that, and then they keep a baseline of money, and then anything over that baseline of money, they start writing checks. And I know he told me they wrote checks for 7 different charities. Well, the one charity that a lot of the members voted on, because they're friends of mine and know my involvement with theirs, they gave us a check for $250. Thank you. Good organization. In February, it's always, their bike show is always in February. If you get a chance to go out there, it's pretty neat. They got a lot of neat bikes out there, so make sure you go out there and see them. Support them.
You'll have a new hip, you go out there and buy
Yeah.
it.
Probably on one, maybe.
I'm not getting behind you on it, though.
That's all.
All right, anyone else? Okay, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've now arrived at our good and welfare section of our agenda. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone of the framework for this segment. Each speaker is requested to step forward, clearly state their name and address, and be allowed 3 minutes to present their statement. Please note this is not a session for dialogue or debate with council, nor is it a period for questions and answers. It is a time for you to make your voice heard, for us to listen, and your statements to be entered into the public record. We ask that all matters be kept respectful and pertinent to community matters. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up, and anybody who'd like to give a statement, please state your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes.
My name is Sherry Harris, 2518 Wing Avenue, today, Missouri. I don't know if you recall, but I talked to you on July 2nd, Andrew Dodson, and I talked to Rihanna Foster. I had called about stop signs. Well, you filed the paperwork. Elizabeth from the office called me. She told me to come in on July 10th, so this has been going on since July. Said, come in July 10th for the meeting at noon upstairs in your room. So anyway, I went up there, and then I've been going through it all the way up until October, the last meeting I went to. Well, I left, and then Elizabeth called me and said to come back on November 13th for the meeting at noon. So I did, was getting ready to come back down there to it. Well, then she called me right before I was leaving the house. She said the meeting was canceled because they ended up doing a 3-minute meeting on Tuesday. And she said that they approved the minutes, and you need to be at the meeting on November the 18th at 6:30 downstairs, and bring up to them about putting a two-way stop going north and south on the corner of Wingate Avenue, because we have traffic turning off 65, coming down 32nd, turning south, going north, and then coming off the Clarendon Road onto Southwest, going south. And, I mean, it's just pitiful with all the traffic and stuff, because there's families with kids out there, there's kids out there playing, there's no stop signs, they speed through there, it's just getting worse every day. Well, the same thing at Southwest, I don't know if you're familiar with Southwest Boulevard and Southwest Court. where it comes together, right around the curve. The people are flying around there. Well, I mentioned to Elizabeth when she called me Wednesday about not coming down Wednesday for the meeting since it was changed. She said, I was telling her about it, that there was a counter up there. She goes, I don't think we put nothing out there. And I said, well, there's one out there. Where'd it come from? So anyway, then I got off the phone with her, and she told me to make sure I come down here. But anyway, 10 minutes later, she calls me back. She goes, Sherry, if I would have got this email 10 minutes before I called you, MoDOT's the one that put them out there in that neighborhood. Why did MoDOT put them out there in there? Because they know that traffic is coming off the highway and cutting through them neighborhoods. So all I'm asking for is a stop sign going north and south on Wing and Skyline before a tragedy happens and somebody gets really hurt up there. Because there's families walking out there with their kids are out there playing, and you have all these people. I mean, that's just like the school zone. I mean, I sit there and pick up my grandson, and people's going 35, 40 miles down there during school. And when they're getting out, no police officer. We have called police out there before. They have come and seen them and stopped them. Now, if they gave them a warning, I don't know, or if they gave them a ticket, I don't know. But I'm bringing this back to your attention because, you know, I've talked to you and Rihanna on July 2nd and went to the meetings ever since that, and we're at the end of November.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Okay? And when will I know when y'all decide to do something about this?
I'll get with you.
You'll get with me? Yep. Okay, Elizabeth has my number. All right, thank you.
All right, up next.
Hello, I'm Nancy Sims at 422, Nancy Sims Badger at 422 W.P. Morris Avenue. I am here to beat the dead horse again. It was March of 2023, I believe, when we got the grant for the sidewalk. I keep seeing emails about bids for sidewalks, like nobody even knows who's going to do the sidewalks. I mean, how long is the grant going to be good for? Is that going to be just something that we were told was going to happen, and then it's just going to go to the wayside? I know you're not going to ask a question, but I have to keep asking it. My other thing is, the young lady that was up here from the Pettis County Community Health Department that was talking about the vending machines for the Narcan, and I heard Mr. Bliss say about people need to call 911, and by the time they get to these machines, the reality of it is those people, I just hope y'all understand, those people are probably going to take it out of the machine way before they need it. And the people that you're saying should call 911 are people that are most likely going to run off and leave somebody to die because they're scared to call 911. That's the reality of that. My third thing is, the gentleman that came up here about the code enforcement stuff. That is about the best thing I have heard from code enforcement, and I couldn't tell you how long. I am so sick of seeing about citations and got very few days to fix stuff. I just want to tell you that. I hope y'all pay attention to that, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Sims.
Hello, my name is Gail Moots. My address is 3365 Cedar Spring Street, and I saw a post talking about Section 8 Ordinance 66 and Section 8 Ordinance 72 about exotic species selling, to remove this ordinance to allow selling and private exchange of exotics, and to remove the, amend the exclusion of reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, and other species for the city approval if you have more than 3 kinds. I would like to make a defense to keep these regulations in place because there are already plenty of invasives. In Missouri, according to the MDC, zebra mussels, Asian carp, invasive Asian carp, emerald ash borer wasps, feral hogs. There's already 2 established species like Italian wall lizard and Mediterranean gecko that has established populations in Jasper County, Missouri, meaning they're reproducing, and they could eventually become a pest, possibly. 10% of established populations can become a pest, and pests are pests ruin a lot of money and taxpayers. For example, Burmese pythons are one of the most notorious in Florida Everglades. 80% of all introduced species in Florida are invasive imported reptiles, and they have bounties on those Burmese pythons. That means government-funded taxpayer money in order to hunt a problem that was introduced by people. I don't agree with exotic species being allowed to be privately sold in exchange, because if you're gifted a species, you might regret it. You might not take care of it as thoroughly as the person initially going through the permits and regulations, and financial situations change. That's why we need to keep those city approvals and paper trails. I also want to just mention that we don't have the infrastructure to keep those surrendered animals if we ever do have to surrender those exotic species. We already saw that there was 222 citations from the animal shelter. They don't have the facilities to keep for reptilians, amphibians, insects, vertebrates, and fish and birds and all that such. That would be very costly or result in just the euthanization of those animals in the first place. And I would also like to bring up a point of pathogenesis and zoonotic diseases. Most of them come from emerging species that come out of, that are imported. And there was a study done in 2000, 8 tick species that were exotic from Costa Rica were found in Florida reptiles. Two of those species have the potential to carry heartwater disease, which is a 90% mortality rate in ruminants. That's domestic cattle, sheep, goats. And that would be absolutely horrible. The USDA already has that listed as one of the most important diseases. So I would like to make those cases for the animal welfare and the disease potential and the ecological risks associated with allowing exotic species to be privately sold, exchanged, along with it's harder to regulate those, and the movable animals, it's harder to track them as well. Thank you for your time.
Could you email your notes to us?
I could. I would have to go home and email that.
Yes, of course.
And I do have three citations, just if you want to further investigate those. Anything else?
Send it to me too. I'm on the website, just explicit city Sedalia.
Tom Olden. Okay. Any other questions?
Please, thank you, sir, for your comments.
Hello, my name is Zach Gerlach, and I am at 1100 South Marvin Avenue currently. Speaking previously, I was the Facebook post I am for. I've lived here my entire life. I currently co-own and operate Seymour LLC with Sierra Anderson. I'm going to discuss 3 ordinances in Section 8 that we as a reptile community would really like to see change. Ordinance 57A lists the animals allowed in city limits without written approval by the Director of Animal Control. This list currently includes birds, fish, guinea pigs, hamsters, mice, turtles, and turtles, except where prohibited by further subsections. We would like to amend this ordinance and see reptiles, invertebrates, rodents, amphibians, and arachnids added to the allowed list. We already hold ordinances that restrict the keeping of exotic animals through permits, like the one keeping snakes out and Burmese pythons aforementioned. And this current ordinance isn't feasible to maintain. We currently have PetSmart that sells amphibians, invertebrates, and reptiles in city limits, and countless constituents of the city that have already purchased animals completely unaware of the ordinances that currently exist. Ordinance 66A prohibits the selling and offer for sale, trade, or gift and giving away of any exotics within city limits. This ordinance directly limits small business and large traveling expos to come in Sedalia. Again, we already require permits for anything considered exotic within city limits. This ordinance currently only limits options and causes neglectful keeping. Under this ordinance, someone falling into ill health, financial problems, or just becoming unable to care for the animal is left with 2 options currently: the release of said animal into the wild, or its euthanization. We would like to see this ordinance completely removed. Ordinance 72A states that no more than 3 animals are to be within a household without the written approval of the Director of Animal Control. We'd like to see this ordinance amended to exclude reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, arachnids, and other bugs and insects, birds, fish, and small mammals and rodents like rabbits, rats, mice, from this limit restriction. This is another ordinance that limits the potential of small business in our area and majorly impacts the population growth of Sedalia. Those who come to Whiteman with pets will choose Warrensburg or other surrounding spaces to live in if they're unable to bring their pets with them. This ordinance will also discourage those who run expos to come to Sedalia, meaning local businesses won't see the influx of traffic when these expos would come. This ordinance also doesn't take into consideration the space required by animals like geckos, fish, frogs, or even small snake species and rodents that sometimes need less than a 2-foot total enclosure space. The animals listed above are kept from the public through Ordinance 67 regarding snake keeping, meaning that these animals could not be held liable for disturbing the peace or for degrading property so long as they're responsibly kept. We already have animal welfare ordinances as well, which eliminates the ordinance secondary purpose of potentially stopping neglectful ownership. And that is it.
All right, that was exciting.
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna say the same thing, email your notes.
Yes, got it. And is that just to the Sedalia info, or what email?
I'll give you my card.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? Well, not seeing any more public comments, we'll go.
I will entertain a motion to move to closed door session for legal advice, real estate, personnel, and negotiated contracts.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Motion second, all in favor?
So you need a roll call.
Need a roll call, yeah.
Roll call vote, please.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham. Marshall's absent. Bogus,
Yes.
Hiller, Cross.
Yes.
Foster's absent, and Bliss.
Yep.
This
First off, I
conference
need
will
a-
now be recorded.
Enter into the escrow agreement in relation to the McDonald's contract for the authorizing administrator.
We need a motion and a second, and roll call to open.
Okay.
So motion to open session.
Second, motion to return to open session.
Thank you. Return to session.
Do I have a second?
I did it.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yep.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall's absent. Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yep.
Cross. Foster's absent, and Bliss.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Let's go ahead, and I need a motion and a second authorizing Administrator Shaw to sign the escrow agreement in relation to the McDonald's contract.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now call for the reading of bill number 2024-209.
Bill number 2024-209, an ordinance approving a special warranty deed for the sale of property commonly known as 1220 South Lamine Avenue from the city of Sedalia, Missouri to Max Kondrachek.
Second reading.
Second. I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-209, an ordinance approving a special warranty deed for the sale of property commonly known as 1220 South Lamine Avenue from the city of Sedalia, Missouri to Max Kondrachek.
Final passage.
Second. I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Foster is absent. Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yep.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall is absent. Bogus?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yep.
Cross?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 absent.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Do I have any council discussion regarding the adjournment? Having heard none, meeting adjourned.
Jason?
Oh, all those in favor? Anyone opposed?